Oh, that's what you had when we came in.
So she sent me that, and Tootie just went and got this one.
Yeah, she sent him a pointer. So you don't need your fly swatter now.
Well, I know it's keeping me in line.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried about that thing waving around at me.
Yeah, he'd take the fly swatter and he'd go to the guitar to show her, you know. And she sent him that. She said, "You don't need your fly swatter. You can throw that away. I got your pointer."
That's hilarious.
Cute.
Okay, we are ready to roll.
Okay. Anytime?
Okay, anytime.
Okay. Do you need an audio check, or you already got that from us chatting here?
We're chatting.
Perfect. Perfect.
Are you
Perfect.
cold? You want
No,
sweater?
I'm at that point in life where I'm quite comfortable here.
Oh, okay. All right.
You know what that means.
I'm going through it myself.
Are you? I have a doctor that can help you with that.
All right.
Roy, I think one of the places it'd be best to get started is kind of find out where you came from. You came from a large family, I understand.
Yep.
Tell me about how many children in your family.
10. 7 boys and 3 girls. No, 3 girls and 6 boys.
6 boys and 4 girls.
There's no wrong answer because I don't know.
No. Yeah, I got 4 sisters, and then there's 6 brothers, plus me, 7 of us.
Have you always
10.
lived in the Howard City area?
No. I was born in Sheridan, Michigan, and then we moved to Gladwin in 1940. My dad taught school up there. Then we moved to Howard City in 1946. I was in the 4th grade, 17 years old, and I was in the 4th grade.
How'd that work out for you?
I could outrun any kid in the 4th grade.
You were great on all the sports teams, weren't you?
Yeah, I didn't like school. No.
That's my next question for you. We'll get back to family a little bit. School and you didn't get along very well, did you?
No, I did not like school.
What?
Waste of time.
Well, but your dad's a teacher.
Yeah, he had a problem though. Yeah. No, he loved teaching. He really did. He just loved kids, but I just didn't like it. I thought it was a waste of time. You know.
And why did you think it was a waste of time? Were you not learning anything? Were you not being challenged?
Well, yeah, I probably was, but when they say, studying Lewis and Clark, who cared where Lewis and Clark went, I loved the history and that kind of stuff and geography, but not so much math and gym was my favorites things to do, but other than that, I hated school, literally hated it.
Now, how far did you go in school? Because there's some interesting
First part of the
stories
8th grade. First part of the 8th grade, and my teacher, Mrs. Harkus, she was a little cutie. She asked me why I was there, and I said, the only reason I'm here is you're the most good-looking school teacher I got. And she said, well, I'm thinking you ought to just plain leave and get your butt right out of here, you and your brother and Aunt Mumby, and put your books in a wastebasket and set it on fire. But
Now, there's a story about that actually happened.
that
didn't it?
actually really did happen, but I didn't know it, but Art Mumby really did set the wastebasket on fire, because he smoked. But now we go to jail for doing something like that. But we left, and we decided to go fishing. We went down fishing, and we went down to the creek where the girls, everybody went swimming, and caught 3 high school girls skinny dipping down there.
That's what
Really?
you caught instead of fish?
Yeah, that's what we seen. We was going up creek, and we took their clothes and put them up on the bridge. And then we went home, told my dad I quit school, and he was a little upset. He wanted me to be an art teacher. And I said, no, Dad, you like school, but I don't. I wouldn't want to be there another 30 years. So I got a job shoveling coal for $4 a day.
In 8th grade?
8th grade.
And how old are you in 8th grade?
16. I just turned 16.
No,
I hadn't even turned 16 yet. And my dad said, well, you can't until you're 16. I said, then I'll skip, because the year before that, I skipped 70-some days in the 7th grade. Yeah.
I can't imagine what home is like when your dad's a teacher. You're skipping school and then you quit.
No. He wasn't happy. Ray didn't like school. He had trouble in school.
Ray is?
My twin brother.
Okay.
He could read and write, but he just didn't like school. But so Dad, and Ray was a hard worker, so he got a job too. But then I got a job at Wolverine making 52 cents an hour. And 2 years later, I thought, boy, if I could ever make $1.50 an hour, I'd be rich. I really did. Yeah. Then I went to work at Ionia Manufacturing Company in Ionia, and I got $1.70. Worked there until the union come in, and they took the Buick Wildcat to Georgia, and they closed the factory, and then I went on carpenter work. Been doing carpenter work 50 years, 55 years.
Now, did you still live? Did you still live at home when you were working shoveling coal and so forth?
Yeah.
So that was okay. If you quit school, at least you needed to be working and supporting yourself and contributing.
Yeah, and I paid my mother, I think, $10 a week for rent.
That's pretty high in those days.
And that for them days, yeah.
They wanted it to be a little punitive, it sounded like, so
Yeah,
that it kept you working and making...
I don't know if I had to or if I did.
Okay.
'Cause they always kept us anyway, so, but I paid, I think, $10 a week. And then I stayed there until I was 19 or just a little over 19 years old.
Do you ever regret leaving school in 8th grade?
Nope. I've never been without a job. Never once in my life. I've had jobs I didn't really like, but I always had a job. But today I tell my kids, I used to tell my grandkids, get through the kindergarten and get out of there before they ruin you. But today, you can't do that. You have to have some type of but I still think your first 2 years of college is a total waste. All that is about money. It has nothing to do with what you're going to school for.
And that was going to be where I was going with my next questions. You came from a large family. You had a large family.
Yeah, I do now. I had 3 kids with my first wife, then I got 4 kids with Arlene. So that gives us 7, and 13 grandkids.
And your advice to them about school?
They have to stay in school and learn something. I don't think there are going to be any jobs for them even if they stay in school, because there ain't no jobs. But when I was younger, I'm serious, you could quit a job and 2 hours later have a job. I mean, no matter, if you want to be a carpenter, you get a job on carpenter. I wanted to be a buffer one time, and so I got a job in a buffing plant learning how to buff.
Buffing?
Appliance parts for appliances and refrigerators and stuff. And I worked there in the wintertime, and then in the summertime I quit and went back out on carpenter work. But I've had a lot of jobs. I made the big Wade Maker boat, the wooden boat that had the big V8 motor in it. I worked on them. I built trailer houses, trimmed out trailer houses for another company. You name it, I've done. Turned gloves for Wolverine. They owned a glove factory. I think Wolverine had in Michigan. The rest of them was shoe factories. What
is the era we're talking about here?
In the 50s, 60s,
okay.
70s, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, if you were hungry enough and had a work ethic, you could get a job.
I could get a job.
You could get a job.
Yeah. It might not be for what you want, but there's still. But the problem today is they give you $7 an hour, and you got to have a car. Now the price of gas at $3.65, $7, that much money, you can't go to work and make $5, $6, $7 an hour, especially at like McDonald's and these places. You can only work 20 some hours a week. So if you're a kid going to school or something, that's different. But if you're a man with a family, there's just no way. You got to work 2 jobs. Yeah.
And when we're talking about family again, how long have you and Arlene been married?
Married?
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's another story there.
Yeah.
Married?
20 years, 19 or 20 years.
How long have you been together?
30 years.
There you go.
30-some years.
Where did you meet Arlene?
In Howard City here. I knew her for 20 years before that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How did you meet? Because you weren't in school at that point.
No. Well, we went to dances in Morley, and her dad called square dances up there, and we didn't talk or nothing, but I knew her. I knew who she was, and then she'd only lived down the road from us about a mile at one time, so I knew her, and I rode to work with her husband for a year at that buffing plant I was telling you about. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. We get along pretty good, so we're still together.
You think you'll hang on to each other after all this time?
Yeah.
Well, that seems to be working for you.
Yeah, it does.
Is your family, your children, are they kind of all across the country, or some in the area?
There's quite a few here, and then we got 3 granddaughters in North Carolina teaching, and one that's not a teacher, but her husband works at a mechanic on an airplane shop out there somewhere. But the other 2 are school teachers. They couldn't get a job here. Just get a job here subbing, but there's no money in subbing, so they went out there. got a job. They don't make as much as they do here, but at
Sure.
least they're making a living.
Making a
Yeah.
living, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Now, you talked about always having a job since you quit school in the 8th grade. You've told us about a few of them. You went on to construction and formed your own construction company. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
I worked with for Jake Woodwike to start with, and then Carl Middleton, Jake was not a good carpenter, but Carl Middleton was a really carpenter. Then I got enough time in where I went to work for Connie Stevens in Howard City here, and he was probably one of the best top carpenters I've ever seen. He was really conscientious and liked to do good work, and he taught me, said, if you can't do good enough work to put your name on it, then just don't do it. And he was that kind of guy. But then his boys got old enough to work for him, so then I went on my own. I think I went on my own in 65, 66, somewhere in there. And I built up until last year, and then there ain't no building going on now. But.
So would you still be building if,
Oh yeah,
if there was...
I love sawdust. Yeah, yeah, I do. We was in log homes for 30-some years, and
I've seen one of those.
and I like them because they're different. You learn something on every one, and they're challenging. A rancher, tri-level, bi-level, you can build them in your sleep, but a log house you have to use a few brains, you know.
To put those all together.
Well, it's competitive. It's a lot of you have to make up. Of course, the log homes has only been in about 35 years, you know, big stuff. And most of the guys that I bought the logs and stuff, we have no idea, but here it is. And then we just engineered, like Woody. He told us about what he wanted, and we sat down and drew a blueprint, and that's what we ended up with. Yep.
How many homes do you, well, you keep track of things. I'm getting that from you. How many homes have you built in this area or elsewhere?
I have no idea.
Really?
A lot of them.
A lot of them.
Yeah. Well, when I worked for Brooks and Alberts, I didn't put that in there. We built, it was called the 235s, and that was for Army people. They just get after the war. Mm-hmm. And this is probably the Korean, same thing with the Korean deal. We would, there were three of us, me and Connie Stevens and Tommy Brown. We built we rough one in every 3 days. And then later we go back and trim them out. But I built ranchers, bi-levels, earth homes, dome, octagons, hectagons, the shape of the Chrysler emblem, whatever you call that. Mm-hmm. I built Swiss chalets, log homes, you name it, I built it.
I'm exhausted just thinking about it.
Yeah. We built, the first one I built was for me and Tootie. We built them out of real logs and chinked it, you know, tried to fit them and chinked it.
Like Lincoln logs.
Yeah. And that had 3,300 square feet in it. Pretty
That's
good
huge.
size.
That's a huge log home.
Yeah. We didn't live there. We just went there and we had a farm out there. Had our horses and some animals and a sulky, a buggy with our horses and stuff. And then finally, we built a house out there out in front of it. But then I sold the log cabin. Some people seen it from the highway and I said, no, that ain't for sale for no amount of money. Then they said, how much they give me for it? And I said, it's for sale.
Everybody has a price.
I made more money on that house than any house I ever built.
Did you do that quite a bit? You'd build them and then you'd say, oh, we're going to live here. You and Arlene are going to live here for a while until it sells, and then it would sell quickly.
Yeah. I'd sell a house, but I'd put the furniture in and the decor in it to try to sell the furniture along with the house where I thought it would look nice. I'm not an interior decorator, but I'd done it anyway. I'd set the furniture for this, and then I'd try to sell the house and furniture, everything just like that. So when they bought it, I'd build another house, and then I'd just go down to Art Vanner, Probst Furniture in Cedar Springs, say, here, I need this, this, and this, and they'd haul it in, and Tootie would put the clothes in her dresser, and we'd be all moved.
Wow.
I didn't have to move. I hate moving.
That's a partnership.
Then one time, we had to move a whole bunch of stuff, and I'd done some canning. And I had 1,400 quarts of stuff I canned, because we had a lot of rain, and I had knee surgery one time. I was off quite a while, so I canned, and from my kids wanted canned stuff. And I fell down out of the garage and broke this leg, but I really done it on purpose so I wouldn't have to move them fruit jars.
You know, why do I believe that?
I really did. I didn't do it on purpose, but I was going to wash the trailer. I bought a brand new trailer, but it didn't come looking clean. I said, why wasn't I spending $30,000 for a trailer that ain't clean? So, and we were going to go someplace too. I think we was going to Tennessee to get a guitar signed. I said, but I don't want that thing set on my yard like this. So I grabbed a 5-gallon bucket of water and some soap, and I'm going out the door, but I missed a step, and I went down and busted the leg right off right here. So I had to sit there. I got my pants off and sat there in my skivvy because I was sopping wet. And a friend of mine pulled up, but I didn't know it was a friend of mine. And they didn't see nobody around, so they left. As he was leaving, I see it was Giz Kuhlman, a guy that I flew with, and I had painted a picture for him of a pilot, him as a pilot. And that's what he was after. Well, after he left, I thinking, no, I'm going to be sitting here. And I stayed there until my wife got home.
Whoa.
Yeah, so, but anyway, I didn't have to move 1,400 quarts of fruit.
Well, way to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished. It's interesting that you said to me a minute ago that the gentleman you learned building, so a lot of the building trade from, said don't build anything you wouldn't want to sign your name to.
Yeah.
And everything in this house your name is signed to.
Not everything.
Well, just about.
Just about.
Just about. I'm walking around the home, and obviously the guitars we're seeing behind you, and I wanted to get started with where you came from and kind of how you got to the place. You showed me a picture of painting upstairs, a drawing in the master bedroom. You said that's the last picture I did in 8th grade.
Yeah,
and it's
before I left school.
Before you left school, and it's incredible. So,
well, if you look at the kitty cat, the girl I done, the ribbon could have been turned a little more and changed the color, and the kitty cat looked like a cartoon. But for me, because I really wasn't an artist, I loved doing it, but I really wasn't an artist, you know.
Well, it turns out that you are.
Well, I'm a builder. I love building more than anything. And I didn't sign my guitars until my attorney called me.
There you go.
2 years ago. I had a lot of stuff to say. He said, no, you should sign these. Something happened to you. And, you know, they're worth something if they're worth more if they're autographs. So, and I've got a few pictures yet around that I wanted to take apart and finish, but I can't. I shake too bad. But I'll have to take them apart and sign them. Otherwise, they'd have never been signed. Yeah.
We'll go back to the 8th grade. The teacher that's cute that you have a crush on says you're never going to amount to anything. You might as well put the books in the wastebasket and light them on fire. Turns out your buddy did do that, light them on fire, and you did walk out of school that day. How do we get from the shoveling coal and the other various jobs buffing, then we're building, how do we get to the place where you become an artist? And this is now a lot of what you're known for is these incredible guitars and the other pictures that are around the house.
Well, in the 60s, I was super busy, really busy. We was building, then we built a church, and we done that nights after work, the Baptist church here, me and Connie. And very little help. The preacher would say how many people can help Roy and Connie, and everybody would raise 3 hands, but come Monday night, Tuesday night, there'd be just a few people there, and 2 guys that went all the way through the program with us, wasn't even a member of our church. Leroy Stapp and Dwayne Stapp was there every night helping us. And I was busy doing that. And then I had boys club that I supported myself, a boys club. And we would do lawns and stuff for old people. Then for doing that, then I'd take them over to Lakeview, the hobby shop, and we'd buy airplanes and fly, and then we'd go to the ball field and fly them, and, you know, for the boys. And,
like model airplanes?
Yeah, because I like kids, I really do. And then they bought Warren White in town here, bought us a 66 or 72 passenger bus for the church for Sunday school and Bible school. So I was also doing that. And so when I got home from church on a Sunday, I wouldn't get home until 1:30, 2 o'clock. And then there'd be somebody there at the house maybe with a blueprint. So I never had a whole lot of time. But I didn't mind it. I was busy. Then one night a week, I tried to go down to, there was a home in Grand Rapids, had kids, it wasn't right. I can't tell you the name of it. Maybe Arlene knows the name of it, but it was, anyway, just had kids there.
Okay.
And I'd go down there and draw for them. But they wanted me to do cartoons, and I can't draw a cartoon even if I look at a reference. I mean, I just don't do cartoons. But it got to the point where they really liked you, you know. So it got too much, so I just quit.
Aha. So then we got to the point of your drawing. Now, do you have any formal training at all?
No. After I quit going down there, because the kids, they wanted to go home with you. It just broke your heart, you know. But my first wife, got me enrolled at Ferris. Mm-hmm. You could take adult classes on anything. Mm-hmm. Sewing, small engines, all kinds of stuff. And she says, looky here, they got one on artwork. And I know you like artwork. So I went up, and I think they were $1 a night for 13 weeks. So it was pretty cheap. And I met a lot of super nice people. And I think I took 3 courses, 2 13-week courses. But I met this guy, Gene Tanner, super nice guy. And
he was the instructor?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he says, you know, you should do something with your ability, because he says, you got some talent, and you should do something with it. He said, now, don't tell the rest of the kids here, people here. They're here for the fun of it, to have coffee and get out of the house. And they were, some of them was, but super nice people, and but they didn't have much art ability.
They were just there to try something out and get out and try
and get out of the
new.
house. Well, then a couple of years later, I found out that I was taking flying lessons, and this woman come with my instructor, and she was one of the ladies in my class, art class. So. Yeah.
Oh, for heaven's sake!
But anyway, that's how I got into it, and then I've been friends with him forever. And then I took 13 classes with this Chuck Beret I tell you about for oil classes. But Gene, if he can see it, he can paint it. Most artists have one thing or another that they can do, but if Tanner can see it, he can paint. He's really a portrait artist. I mean, a super portrait artist. He's got pictures that he painted when he had a freelance studio in Texas of big shots like doctors or lawyers that hang in their office.
Oh, yeah.
Pinstripe suits, and I mean, you bet from me to you, they are photographs. He is that good. He's 80, going on 85, 86 now. He don't paint. He painted a little bit last year. He would give us some women some classes on water and acrylics, I think it was. But other than that, he don't. He's still kicking though. Yeah. But he wished he could paint. But he had a hip replacement because he can't stand or sit no more. Then he had his thumb done, but he could paint anything.
I think it's interesting that you left school in 8th grade because you were bored and you didn't think you'd get anything out of it. But then when something piqued your interest, you voluntarily went back to an adult class.
Yeah.
Because you were motivated to do so at that point.
Well, my instructor, I always just say, well, I like this or I don't like this. And he said, but you can't say nothing. You're not an artist. If somebody's going to correct you, they have to know something more about it. And now I'll tell you something. I'd done Elvis one time. And I got the picture upstairs just like it. And I thought it was pretty good. And I says, Tanner, come here and look at this. He's in playing blackjack on his computer. So he comes in, he said, my honest opinion. I said, yeah. He tore it right off the easel and said, throw it away. He said, no, next time you pay attention. You remember what I told you? Hue and values. Now you pay attention. I done it again, and I thought it come out just about the same, but he said, no, now you've got it.
So he was right.
Yeah, but he don't let you get away with nothing. He said, if I don't teach you nothing, you're not going to know nothing. I won't put this down, but he quit school, Ferris, because the faculty, the big boys, made him pass people, the right colored people, because they played football. And he said, no, they took this class because they thought they could just do anything and flunk this class. And he had so much trouble that he had time. He said, no, I'm going to retire.
So they thought it might be an easy A.
Yeah, and it was. But there was a lot of people there, super good artists, that couldn't take the class because it was loaded with sports guys.
Okay.
Yeah, all sports.
That happens.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
happened.
all sports, but he's good. He's really good. Yeah.
Okay, so you take this class. Meanwhile, have you started, is that when you started doing the paintings of, what did you start with, landscapes, portraits?
I started on landscapes, and I didn't do portraits until, oh, mercy, it was probably in, I think in the 80s.
Recently?
Yeah. I couldn't do animals without a reference, and I couldn't do portraits without reference. And we was at the Grand Ole Opry place and went to Roy Acuff's museum, and somebody had painted a picture of Roy Acuff, just in a picture, and it was terrible, just literally terrible. In fact, I think it was on an instrument, but I'm not sure. So Arlene says, couldn't you do that? I said, I don't think so, because I'm not a portrait artist, and I'm really not an artist. I like to do it, but there's a lot to know about being a real artist. So I went up seen Gene. I said, could I learn? He said, oh. He said, dumb as you are, you ain't going to learn nothing. We always got back and forth. No, he said, you could give it a try. He said, you've caught on everything else I've showed you. So he said, well, give it a try. And there is a lot. Portraits is altogether different than anything you paint. Yeah. So I done Roy Acuff on a violin. Now, I was having trouble with it because the violin is oval in the front, so you would get a different look from here to here, and you change your hue and value all the time. So I said, Tanner, what am I doing wrong? He said, no, think. I said, I don't know. I don't know. He said, do this half, turn your left side, and then turn around and do this half. So you're not looking right straight at it, and that really works. It does.
So you're
but you have to
following
come
the
back
dimension.
in and fill in, but it really works.
Is that what I saw upstairs?
Yeah, in the hallway.
I did. I did see
that's
that.
the first one, yeah.
Why don't you want to call yourself an artist? I mean, I have the powers of observation.
I'm better than, all I want to do is get a little better than the average guy. Really, I wasn't that smart in school. Probably if they took I'll tell you something, this is the truth. They took a test, an IQ test on me and my brother Ray, my twin brother, and it come up 10. And he had 8 of that. Now that tells you where that left me. In fact, my grandson, Jacob, when he was little, had to do an essay in school. And I told him he had to go to school and be something, because I said, your grandpa didn't get an education, and I ended up being a dumb old carpenter. So he'd done this essay, and he's writing this all down, and he said, then, to show his grandpa's telling me the truth, my other grandpa works on the assembly line down at the Grand Rapids Press, and he has a good job. He didn't have to be a dumb old carpenter. So, and this is in this essay. So all I want to do is just a little better than the average guy. I'm still, if you could see my artist instructor's portraits, you'd know what I mean. Yeah. I mean, he can do them in a class demonstration. But, well, guitars, if you done a guitar, it'd be slow too, because you have to do them 3 times. The pencil, you have to prepare the guitar, the graphite, and then acrylics, and then oil. So it's really time consuming. But now if he'd done one, he could sit here and do one of you in pastel in 2 hours and a half, and it would be gorgeous. I mean, then he'd say, no, I'll take it a couple more hours later and finish it. But yeah, sometime I'm going to try to get one from him if he'll let me take one and to bring down and show him. I hate to, because then mine don't look that good. But
I'm doubting that seriously.
But every year, I've been doing this for years with him, and every year, I learned something.
Wow.
And on carpenter work, if I was learning something, I give it my best to improve, to really learn something. Mm-hmm. Same with building, drawing, pencil. My mother kept some pictures that I'd done in the 4th and 7th grade in a folder. And I just gave them to my daughter Melody, but I took some prints of it, and well, back then I suppose they were pretty good, but I know my mother hid them under the bed until I come out the house, and then she'd take them out in this folder.
We mothers do things like that.
Yeah. But even in the 4th grade, I could care less about school. Yeah. just hated it.
So you're a right brain person, you know, the creative side, except you did love the math and you had to use a lot of that with the building and engineering of all of that.
But you see, when you're young, my art instructor told me this, and I've seen it on TV. He said, I said, Gene, I had better conception of what I wanted to do when I was 14 years old. He says, because you use both sides of your brain. Mm-hmm. And now you're married and you got payments and kids and this and that. You don't use both sides of your brain. But when your composition is always better when you're little. And it is. It really is.
Because you're not cluttered with life.
You're not cluttered with everything else. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why, after you took the art class and then started painting more and more, was this a hobby for you then? I mean, you're building construction.
Yeah, I love building. I love sawdust. Yeah.
Was this like a little escape? It was kind of like Roy time?
Well, see, on carpenter work, it's not just building a house. You have to, a lot of these people have you help them design one and draw it down, and hours of drawing. Then you get all done, and they throw that part, well, no, we'll start all over because Johnny don't like it, and Ma don't like it. So sometimes you can spend 150, 200 hours I spent with some people on getting ready to do the house. So it's a lot of time. And I couldn't do that until the kids went to sleep to get your stuff out. Mm-hmm. Once in a while, this was in the 60s, we had an artist come up, Dean Tooling, was a chalk artist at the church. And he'd done some real fast pictures. And I said, how does your mind go fast enough to keep ahead of this? And he said, because I've done this for 25 years, and I've done hundreds and hundreds of churches, and I've done this picture probably 500 times. I said, really? He said, yeah. He says, because there's only so many pictures you can do for a demonstration at church. But they'd put a black light on them, and it would change some of the stuff in the pictures. It's just called a black light. But he says, yeah, I've done this picture probably 500 times, so that's, I said, well, I just wanted to speed. He said, no, if I wanted to really do, then I showed him some of my stuff. He said, you ought to do something with it, because he said, you have a lot of, God-given gift, which a lot of people wish they had some, because I know artists that really, really love it, but to me it's, the last 2 years in Grand Rapids, I was going to enter, and I said no, because it's all modern art and this kind of stuff. And I suppose that's art, but the last 2 years, everyone I picked won. The Calvary guys, that was artwork. That was real art. Then the one this year of the crucifix, that woman done on the crucifix, super, super artwork. Taking 15 bicycle fenders and a steel bar and welding them together, to me, that's not artwork. I mean, anybody can do it. Mm-hmm. It's like the Calder in Grand Rapids. They paid him $300,000 to do that. Yeah, and I thought he ought to pay them, but anyway. Yeah. But everybody has their own thing of art. I took a picture. Mr. Tanner asked me one time, he said, I want you to go to Ferris with me with that picture, but don't put your name on it.
One that you had painted?
Yeah, I'll show you upstairs. I beat 3 artists. But it was faculty, so you can tell. One guy's name was Mr. Lyons, a super instructor, but he could not paint. No. And then we took one. I took the same picture. We went to Lansing. He wanted me to go to Lansing with him, and I took this picture, and we set it down, and this old lady sat in a little booth there. She said, well, it's not bad, but it'll never make our show. So Gene set his down there. And that's one of the school up there. And she said it, and I said, well, you've got one thing I say, you've got a real nice antique frame on it, but it won't make our show. She said, do you lads want to see what I've got here so far? Gene said, no. I said, by golly, I do. If he don't get in, I want to know. We went in this room, right off the side of this, and there was some pictures sitting on the floor, and some was hung. There's nothing in that room I couldn't have done past the 3rd grade.
Wow.
They was insured for $35,000, $40,000, $50,000. Stick drawing. One was a white canvas with a brush, 4 strikes down on an angle, then a pink brush underneath it. It's supposed to have been a corner of a barn. Then they take the same hues and colors of that same thing with crayons and scribbled all over it. That was insured for $60,000. I said to the lady, so how do you like that? I said, you don't want to know. She says, why? So she said, remember, lad, when you was a young boy and you went to Grandpa's and the wheat was ready to pick and thrashing it was waving and blowing in the breeze? I said, yeah, I remember that. And it's nothing like this. This looked like a bad storm and cheaper than had a stroke. I could not believe it. And that's what they call that art. And anybody, to me, can do that. Mm-hmm. Anybody. Yeah. And Gene told me, he said, now you see why kids don't go to art classes and do art anymore. Well, plus computer now. I know a girl that owes the state $80,000 to go to Minnesota to one of the top art schools, and she works at the top of the hotel there in Grand Rapids, a waitress.
Wow. Computers
took all of her jobs. Wow. Commercial arts. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
How do we get from now we've done started doing the painting and the landscaping. How do we get to where we're looking at behind you, to doing portraits on the back of guitars? Where did that spark for you, that idea come?
I think the only reason is that Tootie wanted me to do Roy Acuff. Then once I started, it was another challenge, and but finding the pictures of them is hard,
So the Roy Acuff that you did on the violin that I saw upstairs in the hallway, that was the first one. Now, where the idea, though, to do it on an instrument? Why not a canvas?
Country music. I sat there thinking one time, and I said, country music is country music. Banjo, fiddle, guitar, mandolin. I'm going to do them on guitars. So that's how I started it.
So it was just a simple thought
process. Every star that I've got autographed has actually begged to buy the guitar. And every one of them said, you keep all the old-timers in one collection. We've been in 35, 40 different countries. Loretta Lynn told me even. She says, we've never seen nothing like this. And she said, when it comes time, you're going to be worth some money. None of us stars have seen nothing like this. Nowhere, nothing like this. So she said, she bought 2 guitars. I can't say she bought them. She had her fan club member, not fan club, he was their president of her fan club, Max McMullen. She had him pay me, then she paid him. Well, then when I seen her, I said, why? Because she said, most generally, she said, people give us these. But she says, if they knew we bought stuff, they'd be knocking our door down. Mm-hmm. No, yeah. But so far, I don't think I've got a signature, but that they haven't actually begged me to buy the guitar. Vince Gill bought one from us for autistic children. Yeah. So we got to spend, Tootie did 45 minutes in his dressing room.
Did you leave her alone with him?
Yeah. No.
That might have been a mistake.
No, but he gave her a kiss on the forehead and her cheek too, and so she ain't washed it since.
She's blushing right now.
Yeah, she hasn't washed that. No. But he does 40-some charities for kids, 40-some charities. And that I liked it because I love doing charities for kids too. Yeah.
Okay, so we go from Roy Acuff on the violin. So we start
Junior Stevenson.
Julie Stevenson.
Yeah, the pilot.
Oh.
Rudy Begonia, I call him.
Ah.
He's the one that caused me to go through a bad accident with him.
Junior?
Yeah.
Tell us, you know what? I happened to meet Junior this morning in a restaurant. Dan here, our cameraman, and we met Junior, and I said, do you have any stories about Roy? And he told me about a story. Why don't you go ahead, where you kind of did a little Christmas tree shopping flying one day.
Yeah. Well, we had a windy day, and this was Memorial Day. And he's got a Cub, J3 Cub, and we throw poppies out the windows. And in the morning, we done it on a creek for the Navy, and it went good, but the wind come up, really, really bad wind. So Junior's telling me, I don't think we better, though. They talked us into doing it. But Junior flew from the back seat, and I had the poppies, and then I'd throw them out. Well, we come over the edge of the woods to the cemetery, and the wind was hitting the woods and making a swirl, and we dropped. I mean, you can tell if you fly when your tummy tickles, you know you're and we dropped fast. And I looked up and I said, well, the sky ain't supposed to be green. And about that time, we hit the trees. I had the door open, ready to throw the poppies out, and a big piece of branch came back and busted the backside of my hand. Now the airplane he pushes it ahead to get some airspeed up. Now you can read tombstone numbers and names on them tombstones, and he got just enough airspeed to pull the stick back, and we come, and we was taking branches off like this tree here, and then we got up again and pushed over, and we finally was going, but it was limping sideways. And it's a wooden prop. Now if a prop, one end of it breaks off, it pulls the motor out of the plane. Then you're on your own. So it's kind of limping a little bit sideways, and the junior's in the back, and he said, "Hey, Curly," he said, there's a joke about this too, if you look out your left window. He said, "If you look out your left window, this is your captain." He said, "You'll see that we don't have a landing gear on the left side, only once in a while." I turned around, he took his hat and turned around backwards. He says, "How do I look?" And I said, "A lot better than you're going to look when we land." He said, "Yeah." He says, and he's really slow, he says, "You know, we're probably not going to fly this little car much after we land." He says, "Well, fly it while we're up here, huh?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Fly over the sewer pond, and I'll bail out and land in the sewer pond, and I'll holler back up to you and tell you what's wrong with your little car." He says, "I already know. It's not going to be good." So he says, "Where's your feet?" And I said, "Well, you're flat on the floor here." He said, "When we land, pick both feet up, right up to your chest. Right up to your chest." I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, probably that landing gear is going to come right up through by your feet. And he said, if it does," he says, "you're going to get a leg broke, and then," he said, "we're going to go upside down. Then you're not going to be able to run and get out of here, and I'm going to have to run right across your back." So we flew for quite a while, but then the pine needles was burning because we had a lot of pine needles in it. So we made a circle. By this time, everybody in Howard City is there. Kind of embarrassing for George, but the fire, his son seen what happened. So the fire trucks was there, because when you come in, well, junior practice, we practice this all the time. Coming in on one wheel, if you got a bad crosswind, you keep that wheel down into the wind. And he's a crop duster. And so you practice doing this. But sooner or later, when your airspeed stopped, you got to stop. Now, these landing gears got forks going down, so you know when that fork hits that ground, you're going to go right on over the top. Now, the gas tank on this little cub is right in the front seat, right in the hood, right in the front seat by you. Then, 9 cents out of 10, you crash and burn. But well, sometimes it'll make a spin and come over sideways top. So he said, well, when we get there, he said, no, as soon as we land, before we land, unfasten your seatbelt, and if we go over top, he said, crawl out fast. So we come in and sit down, pretty soon, just up, raised up in the air, come back down, sat right there, and he said, we saved our little car, and we grabbed her by the tail and drug it up the barn, and he says, I said, I'm not going out and see them people. They're going to ask me what happened. He said, I'm going to tell them you was flying. I said, what do you want to do now? He said, let's go to town and get an ice cream cone. Well, we went to town. He owned a restaurant. This little lady come up for him. Her husband worked for him. And she said, Junior, I've been going out to that cemetery for 5 years, and I have never seen you drop no poppies yet, no flowers. But she says, I seen something flying through the air, but it didn't look like poppies. I said, no, it was a pine tree. Well, why would a pine tree be flying? We hit it. We hit the top of the pine tree. Well, then we got our ice cream cone. We went out to the cemetery with his pickup and picked up a truck full of brush and brought it back. Yeah, a whole truck full. And some of them was this big around. Yeah.
So you really shouldn't be sitting here talking about this.
Yeah,
that should have ended differently.
No, you wouldn't be here. No, usually you'd be on your way someplace else. Yeah.
Holy smokes!
Yeah,
he told me that he asked you to reach out of the plane and pull some of the branches away.
I hung out of the plane just by the edge of a little seat. There was a branch this big around with a branch coming off this big around, caught on the strut, and it was pulling our plane sideways. So I had to get out of the plane because it was flying sideways, and the props like this, and I got that off. Now that made the plane fly a little better, but you had to hold. He said, "Hold the right rudder for me too a little bit because it pulls, and you got to push this rudder to keep it. Try to pick that wing back up with you." And he said, "I think I've ruined my little car." I said, "I think you have too." Yeah, But he's cool. He never gets excited. Otherwise, we would have crashed and burned. We got some friends one time that I took to Muskegon to get his radios changed in his plane. And when we come, I had a quite a bit bigger plane. And when we come back, we had a bad crosswind. And I could come in straight, but Giz come in a crosswind. And I thought he was going to crash. And finally, I got him on the radios, and Junior was seeing us, so he got in his plane and was trying to talk to Giz, because Giz is hyper. He says, Giz, go around and come right down beside the hangar and land, because you got too much wind for a 150. He said, I can do that. And I said, yeah, Giz, I've done it even with the 182 with a strong wind. So he come up and come right down beside the hangar and into a good headwind into the wind. In other words, he probably would have flipped. But Junior keeps us cool.
Well, it sounded like
he really does.
What, you were a pilot as well?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What did
well, he'll tell you I just flew.
Kind of like you say you're not an artist.
Yeah, kind of. We had, I don't know how many planes was there. We'd all get together at night or sometime and go fly to Muskegon, Lansing, have a hamburger or something, go up to Mackinac Island. 2 hours we could go up there and have a hamburger and come back. And in the fall of the year, go look at the pretty colors. This Giz Kuhlman, I painted him a picture. You mind me painting? And I done a serious one after this for his wife. She, Mrs. Blue, she was a mountain scene. But anyway, I painted him a picture of this old guy sitting in a chair with his feet up on an old nail keg.
Okay.
With his boots showing, with a set of old goggles and a hat, with a big cigar in his mouth, and he's got a book, not a back of a book, says Learning How to Fly. But I just done that as a joke. But and as far as I know, she still got it, but then I painted for their anniversary real. But he died from asbestosis. He was an insulator for pipes.
I was going to say, what do you do for a living?
Yep, and I wouldn't fly with him. We had some other guys there. No, you couldn't ask for a nicer guy, but he just was, everything he done with the controls was.
Kind of a nervous.
Yeah, super guy, but he just, good thing he had to quit flying, because I think he'd have got in trouble. I really do.
Did you fly with Junior again?
Yeah, quite a bit. I flew with him one time. I took the tanker over to, spray tanker over to Grant, Kent City. And I had to ride back with him in the spray plane. Now, in a spray plane, you got one seat. So I'm setting off this way, and he's setting off the other way, and there's one stick in the middle. Now, there's not much room in there. So when we gets back, he says, I'll show you something that your plane can't do. I said, what's that? And we was running on top of the ground about a foot above the ground at about 118, 20 miles an hour. Now, at the other end of our strip was a big, tall electric pole with the wires going across there. Now, I'm thinking right now from here, my wheels got to be off the ground. And he stayed there, and I said, Rudy, because we was right here, just like a couple flaky little guys sitting in this plane. And I said, Rudy, we got to be going here in a minute. No. He said, don't worry about it. And I went to tell, he said, don't mess with my controls to my airplane. Pretty soon he pulled that stick back, because we was right there. And now we're just like this. So everything that's up here is down here in your butt. Then, when he gets to the top, he pushes the stick over. Now your G's change real fast. Now everything's down here right up in your head, and you can't see nothing. You really can't. I couldn't. But he was a little bit used to this. After he leveled it off and you finally get your bearings where you're going, he said, now, can your plane do that? I said, no, my plane can't do it. My plane cannot, and I ain't going to do it. But the spray plane has got such a wide wing, when you pull that stick back, they climb.
And he knew what it could do.
Yeah. I had a friend who was a pilot in a Corsair in World War II. And he said a Corsair could pull so many G's, they'd kill a human being. The people couldn't stand the G's. But he said, they told us how many we could pull. And he said, we'll go into a dive, and when I come out of a dive, I'd pull that stick back on that Corsair until, you just pull it right back until you got your bearing. You might climb 5,000 feet, even 6,000 feet before you got your bearings back, but you was climbing right straight up, on an angle. Then when you got up there, you say, oh, okay, now I got to come back down here and do it, because you're pulling too many G's. yeah.
Where and why did you learn to fly?
It was different. I didn't like flying at all. I said, no, I'm never getting off the ground. So Rudy, he says to me when he says, I want you to go for a ride with me. I got to do something. I said, I ain't flying. Why don't we take the truck? He said, no, I want to fly. So I got in the plane with him. And he said, well, you're not going to go until your time comes anyway. So I guess that's right. So he got me upstairs, and we flew around. Pretty soon, the next day, he had me up. Now, he's letting me fly his airplane. A week later, I bought me an airplane.
Really? So you fell in love with it that quickly?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, it was challenging.
Yep.
And it was altogether different. When you get upstairs and you get way upstairs, you're just up there and it's smooth, it whistles right out, and then the ground goes by. Now, close to the ground, you know you're moving. But when you get up in the air, it don't feel like you're going anywhere. You know, you just, it's nice. Yep.
So you had planes throughout most of your adult life after that?
Yep. Well, I sold that one then because we all had a cottage in Iowa, and then I could fly back. But so I bought a bigger one, and that had a very rich prop on it, so you could pitch that back. You wouldn't even hardly know he was in an airplane. Yeah. But you go college tours or get Tommy Thompson, the good friend of mine. He had a tri-pacer, which we called a tri-smasher because it had short wings and it come in real hot. And he's my colored buddy. And my plane was way, way faster than his. And one time I had my brother-in-law with me, my brother-in-law's buddy. He's a state trooper in Leland. My brother-in-law was he was riding with Tommy. And I'm showing him the whole area here in Lakeview. That's where he's from. And all of a sudden, I seen this little black and red plane go by me like I was sitting still. And they was right beside me, and they were laughing like a son of a gun. I said, what in the world did he do? So we landed, we got on the ground, landed, he's laughing and laughing, and my brother-in-law says, he said, watch Roy. He said, I can't touch his plane at all, but watch him. He went up at 10,000 feet. They put it in a nosedive. They can call what they call redlining. You can come down too fast, too. You can come down, but you can't pull that stick back fast because it'll tear your wings off because they're not built for it. And he said, when we got down to where we go past you, he said, I pulled the stick back, and he leveled off. He flew by me like
you were standing still.
But that's what he done. He went up 10,000 feet and then come down. We was down at 2,500, and he went by me like we were sitting still. Yeah.
Do you still like to fly?
Yep. Well, not the big ones. Them big ones, they need a lot of ground to land on, you know.
Yeah, they need a lot of real estate.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But Rudy, I had a photographer come over, and we took up 5-6 rolls of film.
Oh my!
But I had to I had Charles Lindbergh's picture, and I couldn't change it. I had to have the lighting, the shadowing, everything the same. And Judy said, what are you doing? I said, I want your picture. What? He said, you got 6 rolls, but I had to have the light just right, and I couldn't change that. So then when I got it done, I took it up, and he said, what are you going to do? I said, we're going to make a dartboard out of it. No, he said, I'm going to hang that. So he had it for 30-some years, and then, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, I went and got it back. And then I had it reframed and matted because the mat was getting bad on it.
I saw that upstairs, didn't I?
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
But I should have put his airplane instead of the Spirit of St. Louis. I should have put his. He's got a narrowbat, what they call a narrowbat. That's really good. I mean, expensive plane and powerful. You know, I should have put that in there, but I didn't.
Well, and it is interesting too, walking around your beautiful home. Once again, you keep talking about not being an artist, but the talent to be able to do portraits, landscapes, to be able to do all these different kinds of drawings and artwork. It's pretty incredible, because don't a lot of people just kind of get pigeonholed in one area and that's where they're comfortable?
Yep. Yeah. But I just love challenges. I really do. I love challenges.
For you, that idea come?
I think the only reason is that Tootie wanted me to do Roy Acuff. Then once I started, it was another challenge, and but finding the pictures of them is hard to, you know.
So the Roy Acuff that you did on the violin that I saw upstairs in the hallway, that was the first one.
First.
Now, where the idea, though, to do it on an instrument? Why not a
canvas?
Well,
country music. I sat there thinking one time, and I said, no, country music is country music. Banjo, fiddle, guitar, mandolin. I'm going to do them on guitars. So that's how I started it. It's, you
So
know.
it was just a simple
And
thought process.
every star that I've got autographed has actually begged to buy the guitar. And every one of them said, you keep all these, the old timers, in one collection. We've been in 35, 40 different countries. Loretta Lynn told me even. She says, we've never seen nothing like this. And she said, when it comes time, you're going to be worth some money. None of us stars have seen nothing like this. Nowhere, nothing like this. So she said, she bought 2 guitars. I can't say she bought them. She had her fan club member, not fan club, he was their president of her fan club, Max McMullen. She had him pay me, then she paid him. Well, then when I seen her, I said, why? Because she said, most generally, she said, people give us these. But she says, if they knew we bought stuff, they'd be knocking our door down. No, yeah. But so far, I don't think I've got a signature, but that they haven't actually begged me to buy the guitar. Vince Gill bought one from us for autistic children. Yeah. So we got to spend, Tootie did 45 minutes in his dressing room.
Did you leave her alone with him?
Yeah. No.
That might have been a mistake.
No, but he gave her a kiss on the forehead and her cheek too, and so she ain't worth it since.
You know, she's blushing right now.
Yeah, she hasn't worth that. No. But he does 40-some charities for kids, 40-some charities. And that I liked it because I love doing charities for kids too. Yeah. But I just love challenges. I really do. I love challenges. And if you don't, you get in a rut. Now, I've been in a rut with guitars, but every guitar is different. Every guitar is different. And scenery, I never had nothing. I could do scenery. It's just in your mind. But at the age I'm getting now, I don't know if I could create a picture now. Before, when I was younger, I got a picture above the archway upstairs, the mountains in the Santa Cruz Mountains. I just remembered that scene when we was up there.
Just in your head you remembered
Yeah,
it.
and the pictures, 2 pictures in my bedroom, and a stream, another one with the green trees. Then we're just in then you do them. But portraits and animals, I have to have a reference. Yeah.
And that brings us to the guitars. When you started doing these, you would get a picture of a country artist. And
Yep.
obviously, you're a country music fan.
Yep.
And so you would just pick a picture out of a magazine,
Yep.
or where would you get
Most
the
generally,
source?
and sometimes I got them from different people at fanfare.
Okay.
Yeah, that would trade
In Nashville?
pictures and stuff. Quite a few of them, but some of them was out of different books. But like I said, the Country Weekly magazine isn't good. I've been on TV with Lori Morgan, I think Pam Tillis, Martinez McBride. I don't know how many on Good Morning America in different places. And then they had a piece of plywood, 4x8 sheet of plywood on 20-some corners with this picture of me and Pam holding her guitar on these corners advertising some show or something. Yeah. She wanted me to bring her guitar to Mel Tillis's in Branson. She wanted her dad to buy it for her. I said, honey, it's not for sale. She's a sweetie too, really a sweet gal. Yeah.
Well, what about some of the stars, and there's some behind me here as well. Why do you pick these certain stars? Did you start with your favorites and then just kept branching out as you got more and more and more?
Yep. Most of them are super, super nice people. In fact, I think Johnny Cash was the most humble of them all.
That would surprise people, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It surprises me.
He was so rowdy, but he told me, he said, Mr. Bills, I've drank everything there is to drink, even torpedo juice. I said, he said, I'm serious, even torpedo juice. He said, once you're a bottle jockey and you get into it, you drink anything. And he says, I've done every drug there is to do except the needle. Everything. And he said, me and June got hooked up, and he said, I found religion, and I'm all out of that stuff now. I said, how about prison? Because everybody told me he was in. He said, no, I was in Folsom Prison to do Folsom Prison Blues. I've been in a lot of jails, but I've never been in prison. That's what he told us, yeah. But a super humble guy.
Tell me the story of meeting Johnny Cash.
I took Johnny Cash's guitar and Ellen Jackson up there to the Grand Ole Opry. And Tootie said, well, honey, why are you taking Johnny Cash? You're never going to see it. I don't know, but I'm just feeling I have to take Johnny Cash. Well, I can't get in the show with the guitars unless you buy a seat for him.
Okay.
And so I'm sitting out in the hallway, and people come by and tell you how nice they are. And finally, this woman come on. And said, man, where'd you get that? I said, I painted that. Never said nothing about Ellen Jackson. Nobody did, but Johnny Cash. And she said, there's a woman backstage that's going to want to buy that guitar. I said, who's that? She says, Johnny Cash's sister. I didn't know he had a sister. She said, Joanne. I said, would you go? I'll give you $50 if you go back and tell her that I'd like to. Well, she says, I would, but I'm on my way to work. I'm late to be at the Crazy Horse Saloon. That's where I work. I said, okay. But she said, there's some more people coming out. So she got out and opened the door and slid the door open, and there's that Johnny Cash. Really? So he stayed in the van, but she got back in a van then and put her knees in the front seat and wheeled back like this. So he said, first he said, hello, I'm Johnny Cash. I had no idea what I'd done. No idea. So I said, I wanted to meet, he said, well, I want to meet you too, because he says, I want to buy this guitar. And she told me, he don't want to sell to John. He says, I offered him $3,000. Then she says, I want $5,000 on top of that before she left. I said, no, it's not for sale. And he says, are you rich? I said, no, not in money, but I got healthy, grandkids healthy, but I got enough to get me by. And he said, well, I want to commission you to do me one just like this. And I said, now, I'm sorry, this ain't done in black, but I couldn't find nothing in black. No, he said, this is my favorite picture. Most people don't believe me, but Tootie was there. I said, you're just being kind. He said, no, I'm not. This picture was taken in 1976, the date and everything. And he says, I wanted to use this on my last CD, which was called What Have I Done? I think that was the name of the CD. But when we seen him, he hardly had no hair. And he just got out of the hospital. I said, you just got out of the hospital again from your lungs? He said, no. Pulled his pants. They want to take his leg off, diabetic. So we shot the breeze for a while, and he says, you don't play guitar, do you? And I said, no, why? He said, it's not in tune. He said, what's your favorite song? I said, my wife's favorite gospel song is Amazing Grace. Well, does I'll have Joanne come up here, and he tuned it up, and they sang one verse of Amazing Grace. Then he was out of wind because he had bad lungs too. So he said, no. Then she got out of the van and was talking to Arlene because it was hot. And so did the old man. And he said, no, Mr. Bills, whatever she offers you, I'll go double or triple. But do not sell this guitar to Joanne, never a sister. I said, no. He said, no. I said, she don't want it because I'm her brother. She wants it, this. She's greedy. I said, well, I just seen her service, and she's supposed to be a real good Christian. Yeah, it's like any other business. I've talked to some of the stars, and they said it's not as glamorous as, well, the oldest today, they're making $150,000, $200,000 a show, but they only last a year or two. Old George Jones has been singing for 50 years, Carl Smith and them guys, and they're still famous, big and famous, but it's all a lot of politics in it too. A lot of politics. Yeah.
What do you see as the difference? Some of the differences between some of the stars we're surrounded by here and some of the new stars in country music.
Well, the old stars had to work hard, and they're basic. Most of them, pretty honest old guys. They know how they spent millions and millions of hours on a bus traveling back and forth. But they've got some stories to tell you, too, of which they said they wouldn't trade for nothing, just a real. But I think there's so many new stars now. It's because of the equipment we got at TV and all this stuff. You can become a star overnight, but like I said, a year later, they don't even hear you no more.
They don't have to put the time in.
No, and they don't take it as serious as the old guys did. Like George Jones and all these old guys. Songs, you can go to the record shop and they're still selling all kinds of records of them guys.
I saw some photographs when we took a break a little bit ago, and I saw a great picture of you with George Jones. Do you have a George Jones story?
Yeah.
Oh,
we was at Walmart.
You're smiling.
We was at Walmart, and he said, well, I started swearing. His wife and daughter, they said, George, you're swearing. Well, why the hell would I be swearing here in front of all these kids? He went on and on. She said, well, you're still swearing. And he did. I mean, not filthy, but he just was swearing. He said, asked me, he said, well, he said, my God, he said, this is the best I've ever looked, and on and on. And he still, damn this and that. And I said, well, it's good to see you finally anyway. He said, did you come to some of my shows that I didn't show up? I said, yeah, I did. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. But we got him signed in Walmart. Yeah. But we went and seen where he hit that bridge, big cement bridge, and his car. I'm telling you what, the Lord loves him because there's no way he should be alive. There was nothing left of that at 107 miles an hour. He was talking to his daughter when he hit the bridge on the phone.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but he don't drink now. We seen him. He has a ranch right next door to Carl Smith. He just said hi, but there was some. I wanted to get Carl Smith signed, and this guy pulled out of the Carl Smith place with a horse trailer on it. And I said, oh, you got... And Carl Smith quit music and started raising horses for rodeos and trained them for bulldog and calf opener, steer and stuff like that. And I said, I think they're probably pretty expensive ponies. And he said, yeah, there's 2 horses in there for $120,000. So,
wow.
Yeah. But he was on a John Deere lawnmower too, riding back to the house because they had a big gate out in front. You got to know their numbers and everything to get in. You can't get in, you know. But we seen it, and we seen him in the show. He come right up back down in the crowd in the audience and sat right in the show. And I wanted to get Ellen Jackson signed at that time, and Ellen Jackson said, "No, I'm not signing no more crap."
Really?
Yep. Went back out, got on his bus, and took off. I guess. Yep.
So that's one of those a bit disappointing.
Well. We seen him in Traverse City too, and they throwed him out of Traverse City Hotel up there. They said, "No, you badmouthed our people and then bossed them around enough. No, you get out and don't even stop to pay the bill."
Interesting.
I think I'll have to ask Tootie, but I think Blake Shelton and Steve Foley was there at that time, and we was eating dinner with them. They come down and ate dinner with us because we had a show to do for the Traverse City casino up there. We got, and Steve Foley, and I think Blake Shelton both said, oh, he's a horse's hind end. He said, man, he's about that time we seen his bus going. He said, yeah, they finally throwed him out up there. Got too big for his britches, but they told us all kinds of stuff, so I really don't. But then he said, no, I'm not signing any more crap and stuff. But they do, you know, when they get started.
Well, sure they do.
Yeah.
I'm noticing over your right shoulder as I'm looking, I'm seeing 3 Elvis guitars. Did you ever meet Elvis?
No. With the head of...
I was just going to say, I bet that's one you wish you'd been able to meet.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't doing guitars back then when Elvis was alive. I just started it sometime in the 80s. I think it was in the 80s, yeah. But he could do gospel music better than anybody in the world. I had a chance to, I'd have toaster coffee a lot of times with Charlie Hodges. He's the guy that sang tenor with Elvis and gave Elvis the scars to give to the girls.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
So, and he told me a lot of good stuff about Elvis. Yeah, a lot of good stuff.
So you kind of developed a relationship with him.
Yeah, he's dead now. He just died too. But then there was another guy that played with him too. Played guitar and sang, but I can't remember the guy's name. I seen him just one time. And he said, if anybody says something bad about Elvis to me, he said, if I can't whip him, I'd take a 2x4. Because he said he was one of the nicest guys. He said, I had nothing and is on my way down. He said, me and my wife was about to part. And he said, and we both loved one another, had kids. And if it wasn't for Elvis, he said, we wouldn't. He said, we're together. He said, a little bit of finance. Plus, he said, you come right over the house one time. But my wife, he said, now come on over there, and I'm going to work this out with you people. And he said, we sat there and had prayer and held on hands and prayed and said, now we can work this out. It only takes a little bit of money, but it takes a lot of love and giving. And he said, we're still together to this day. And this guy told me this himself.
Wow.
It wasn't from a book or nothing like that. Yeah.
So it sounds like there's a lot of misinformation that the general public had.
No, he's doing all the stars.
Wow.
Yeah. Elvis drank, but he said, this guy told me, he said, favorite thing for him to do is after shows get with the Stamps or somebody, a quartet, and play gospel music. Because he wanted to be, at one time he was going to be a preacher. Elvis was. And this is what Charlie Hodges told me. Yeah.
So
But
his love was just doing the music.
Yep.
Just get with a bunch of guys
Yep.
and do.
Do music. He said, even if he didn't get paid. But he said he'd give away more money, but he gave bought that Cadillac for that cutter lady. She remember that was on TV where he stood
Yep.
she stood looking in the window of this church. He said, honey, go and get it and I'll pay for it. But Charlie said if his mother hadn't have died, he wouldn't have got in where he was at. But these pills, because like Elvis lived so fast that he had something to do every minute of the day. And in order to go to sleep, he had to take pills to go to sleep. Then he only slept a little while, and then he had to take pills to wake up. But as far as shooting cocaine, he said, no, Elvis didn't do that. He said he was smarter than that. But he said he was a real religious guy, too. Yep. Yep. And thankful for what he had. Really thankful and grateful for what he had. Yeah.
Well, it's wonderful that you got kind of an inside look at somebody that
I really admired.
you
Yeah.
admired.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I was disappointed in his house. We went to see
Did
the
you go to
Graceland.
Graceland?
Yeah. It was nice, but, you know, the way they talked about it, it was pretty because of no Georgia-style house, but I think I've lived in houses as good as that. But you couldn't see it. They take 40 people with you through there, and there's somebody jumping over your head, so you can't see, but I'm glad we went. Yeah. I wanted his airplane, but...
You wanted to fly that.
Yeah, yeah.
Wasn't that the Lisa Marie? Named
Yep,
after
yep,
his daughter?
mhm,
Yep.
yep. But the movie, Charlie told me that Lisa Marie jive that music, what all of them do, you know. It ain't the same movie, you know.
Yeah.
But he's done, Elvis was a good-hearted guy and really a religious guy.
Very good. What about some of the, are there some stories that you remember of meeting some of the stars, taking your guitars to get signed that were particularly amusing? I mean, things that, you know, kind of a crazy story in the process?
Vince Gill and Patty Loveless was together, and man, and we was in line. And they're supposed to only just say hi, bye, and gone.
And you're carrying the guitar.
I'm carrying the guitar,
Okay.
and Patty Loveless looked all over, and we're talking just like brothers and sisters. And I mean, he held the line up for, I mean, a long time. And usually you go through, and the guy will grab you and say, sign here, and you don't go. But he'd already signed some other for me before we done this. Yeah.
And isn't it interesting how you form a kinship with some of the folks, just like anybody else?
Yeah.
Some people become your friends and
Yeah.
some people don't.
Well, Arlene, he was inducted in, Vince Gill was inducted in the Country Music Hall of Fame and joined the Grand Ole Opry. And somebody sent me, my wife, a picture. Somehow she got this picture of Roy Acuff introducing Vince Gill into the Country Music Hall of Fame, or a member of just him and Roy Acuff, and shaking hands and face to face. And so Tootie had it blowed up and had a picture of it and framed and matted it. And we didn't stand in his line because we'd already got his signature. But just before this, they said, this little girl, I come up, this little girl is crying and sobbing. I said, honey, what's the matter? So they're going to shut the gate off, and I don't get to. And her ankles was just big around from standing there that long. So I said, I don't know. But pretty soon they said something, and Vince Gill said, hold that gate until that little girl says, well, you can't. Your time will be up. He says, then I'll buy the gate. But we stood close enough there. He said, no, you leave that gate open. You leave that gate open. He said, I'll tell you when to close the gate. So 2 or 3 after her. But anyway, Arlene took this picture up, and she held it up so Vince could see it. And Arlene Hunter said, this is yours. I'm going to give this to you. And he said, oh, yeah, thank you. I mean, really hollered, thank you, thank you. And then I think he remembered her when we spent all that time at Backroom against Days, because he wanted one of them pictures, and nobody had one. So he wanted that picture, so she got it done for him. Yeah.
Do you still go to fanfare?
We haven't been there. They changed it. They took fanfare from out of the fairgrounds downtown.
Okay.
And you have to stand out there on the sidewalk, and sometimes 5, 6 hours, and the time you get there in line to go in the building, your star is gone. They really ruined it for having fun, a good time. But so, and then I can't walk no more, so then we're all done.
Well, I think at this point they'll come to you.
Yeah, the stars. Yeah. I sat in line with this woman. Sometimes you're there 12, 13 hours.
Wow.
So you get to know everybody around you. So Tootie got a call in the mail. Some lady says she wants to buy a George Strait guitar. So I talked to her for a minute. I said, no, honey, and they'll say, you remember me, but you can't because you see so many people. But she said, no. I said, I don't sell George Strait. So a little while later, she called Arlene again. Then she had her daughter call. Then the daughter talked to me, my daughter-in-law. And I said, honey, no, I'm not selling George Strait guitar. I said, my daughter is really in love with George Strait. She said, well, do you have anything else you would sell? I said, I got one portrait done in pastel. She says, what do you want for that? And I said, I want $8,000 for it. She says, I'll take it. I said, honey, you haven't even seen it. She said, I don't care. My mom says she wants one of your pictures. And I said, where you at? She's, I think, Holdenwall, Tennessee. I call it Holdenwall, Tennessee. But I said, but now if I deliver it, it's going to be another grand. That's $9,000. That's okay. So she said, we're going to get it for her for Christmas. Well, we're busy building, and finally she called me and said, Mr. Bills, Christmas is coming up, and we got to have that guitar. So I said, okay, we'll load up and come. Well, I called her and said, we'll head out in 3 or 4 days, and she called me back and said, no, bring me, I want to see that guitar of George Strait. I said, okay, I'll bring it with me. And we met her at a restaurant, Chinese restaurant or something like that. And she said, bring that guitar. So we did. And she said, when you get there, they'll call me and I'll come over. Well, they called her. And by this time, the restaurant had slowed up a little bit. And I brought the picture in, the guitar in. I set it on the table. They had big tables there, and I set it on the table. And they called her, and here she come. And she looks just like Popeye's girlfriend, Olive Oil. And she come in, she really does, and scrawny little legs, and she come in and says, oh, yeah, that. She said, well, have you had lunch? I said, no, so we had lunch, and she said, well, I'm going to have to get up and get going because Ma's going to be coming by here, and I can't lie to her and wonder what I'm doing here because I'm supposed to be in the office, but she's going by to pick up the little boy. And she said, if you was to sell George Strait guitar, what would you sell him for? And I said, well, I ain't out nothing. And I gave her this figure, I mean, a big figure. And she just raised her eyebrow and said, really? And I said, really? That's what I'd take. So she said, well, I'm going to pay for dinner. I said, no, my dad come right out of his grave. A woman had to buy my dinner. So I gave Tootie the money. I take the guitar out, and I wrapped it up and put it in the trunk of the car. I come back up, and the girl went to the bathroom. I'm trying to think of her name, but I can't. But anyway, she said, that lady wants that guitar. I said, did she hear me? She said, she wants that guitar. So I waited for her to come out, and I said, honey, do you know how much money that is? Yep. I'm an accountant from my dad's factory. I know what 2 times 2 is, but I want that guitar. She says, I've got 2 checks here. One check, a certified check for $3,000 and one for $6,000 for the other picture. Did you want that too? Oh, yeah. Ma can't just open one present for Christmas. I said, okay. I said, why 6 and 3? She said, well, in Tennessee, if we cash anything over $6,000, you had to, that's referred to the state. I said, we do in Michigan too. Mm-hmm. So I said, but still, you sure you want this guitar? Yep. I said, okay, I'll go get it. She said, how do you want the rest of the money? I said, in cash. without thinking. Now, we're going to be there 2 more weeks. Yeah. She said, well, follow me to the bank. She backed right out in front of the cops the wrong way, and we found the bank. Now, this town was downtown Grand Rapids black.
Okay.
I mean, purple, black. She comes out of the bank, and she got a bag from the bank, and she got packages of $100 bills in this hand and this hand.
My.
And she lays them on the hood of my Lincoln. And this one, she dumps this bag out on top of Lincoln and puts this money there. Now they got all of these black people running up and down this, they're looking at this. So she said, well, I want my picture taken with you. I said, me too. Then I got to go. Mom's going to be by here. So we had her picture taken. I took all this money and threw it in the back seat on the floor. Tootie said, hurry, go down this way and go down here and back over here. I said, honey, what are we doing? She said, well, that was too easy. Maybe they've got this set up. So we busted out of town. We got out of town and pulled in a roadside park thing like that. I said, what? Are we going to do this money for 2 weeks?
Yeah, we've got $9,000 worth of
I said,
cash.
I should go in for brain on my check on my brain. I said, what are we going to do? I said, I know. I said, I'll break my spare down. I tried running over my spare tire. I done everything I could think. It wouldn't go down. So I takes it in the gas station. I says, the guy said, I got to have my tire checked. He run the thing around, broke the bead, and I said, that's good, take it off and give it to me. I handed him $20, and he said, no, he says, mister, I haven't done nothing to it yet. I said, no, that's fine, that's it. And I'm walking out of there, and he looks at my plates and missing plates. He said, well, them dumb, stupid hillbillies. But anyway, I just waited and I said, thank you. No, we take it out in the country, and I gave her $1,000, and I kept $1,000. I'm going to buy some guns and stuff. And we put the rest of this spare tire. And we're driving down the road, and I said, we ought to call the kids and tell them to get our spare, something happens to get our spare tire. So she did. We got home, they said, what have you got in your spare tire? I said, nothing now. Well, what did you have? I said, a lot of money. Well, why would you put a lot of money? I said, because it was all in cash. Well, just before that, we sat at a red light and we heard this tire squawk and something jumping up and down the semi. Almost ran right over our trunk of our car. So said, if you get killed, we got it. So did we ever tell them what was in it? Just money, didn't it? Oh, yeah, just till we got home.
Well, that was
every one of us
though.
called one another and said, what, you think mad of my dad?
Oh, he's gone over the edge this time.
But I'd like to sell one of them every week to that little girl.
She's probably still buying them.
Well, anyway, when I got home, I waited for a week or two, and I called her and I said, now, you sure you and your dad still want this guitar before I spend this money? Oh, yeah. Said, Mr. Bills, my dad's had a chance to sell it for $15,000 more than what we paid you.
Oh,
when we get off TV, I'll tell you what she give us, but $15,000 more than we paid you.
Were you upset about that?
No. I couldn't believe what she gave us to begin with.
So you didn't mind that she sold it for more?
She didn't sell it. She said her dad had a chance.
Her dad had a chance.
Well,
okay.
And she called him Dad and Mom, but it was really her mother and father-in-law.
Okay,
You know?
okay.
You know?
Wow.
Well, then the old lady sent us a picture of her getting it signed by George Strait. Yeah.
So they did.
Yeah. But he never called me because he could have sued me too, see. But she said, no, he never called me, bothered me. But we still got the picture somewhere, I think, that's where she signed.
Good heavens.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've got more stories.
Some of them I forgot because it's been so long, but some of them some real good stories, and some, we met a lady down there that was just a sweetheart, and a year before that we gave her a good donation, heavyset woman in a wheelchair, and she wanted a guitar for some kind of a charity for kids.
Okay.
And this one guy come up to me, he says, I know her, don't give her one nickel. She says, all this stuff she gets, she sells and keeps the money. Because you can't keep track of her. She's from another state. You'll never see her again. She says she's had people, basketball players, give her autographed basketballs that she sells for big money and all kinds of stuff like footballs, baseballs. And they give it to her for this charity thing. And she sells it and keeps it for herself.
It's just a scam.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you found that to be a small percentage of the folks that you
Yep.
run into, though? I mean, it's a few bad apples, hopefully.
Yep, just a few, but most of them are. I've met a lot of people out there that we get together every year. I get Christmas cards from them that we used to go to fanfare with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and super nice people, really, really nice people. In fact, we had a guy from Texas. I can just remember, because we didn't spend as much time. Some of these, we've been to their home and had lunch or something. And he called me, and I thought, well, I'll tell him marketer. And he said, I want to buy, because see, I painted 2 Johnny Cashes like this one. I painted one for his sister.
Okay.
But then after I found out, I said no. But anyway, he says, I want to buy a Johnny Cash guitar. And I said, oh, no, not the one that's signed. He said, no, the other one. You said you had another one. I said, I do. I was painting it for his sister, but she's not getting it. I said, well, how did you get a hold of me? He said, well, on the back of the picture you gave me, and Arlene did, she would put my address, name and address and telephone number, on the back of the picture. And he says, and we seen it, and he said, Johnny Cash is my favorite. And I said, well, I wouldn't sell the original. And he said, what would you take for the other one? I said, take 10 grand, cash. I want cash. He said, okay. He says, I'll call you when we leave. We got some friends in Chicago, and we're going to stop off there first, and we'll come through Howard City. And I've never been across the Big Mac, and I'll pay and pick up the guitar and go back to Texas that way. I said, okay. So they was here a couple hours, really nice people. Then after they left, Arlene says, well, how do we know this money's any good? I said, I really don't. I don't know. So I called Virginia Lamberson. She was at a bank on a Sunday afternoon, and she told me how you could tell. I forgot how it was. And so I tried quite a few of them, and they was all right. But that could have been another bad deal too, but it wasn't. No.
It's kind of a leap of faith sometimes.
And then he sent me a great big card for Christmas. Thanked me and said, I'm so glad you sold that guitar to me for as cheap as you did. He probably was a politician.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah.
Apparently. I'm curious as to, you've been telling us some stories about people ask you, if it's for sale, I want that, and you say no. Do you just sometimes get a feel for people and decide if you want to sell or not?
Some of them are my favorites, and I don't want to sell them. Someday I got to, and someday we're going to. In fact, we got to get, because maybe next year, because we can't handle this house, and because it's too much hard work for Tootie just to. And these guitars is a pain in the butt to clean all these guitars and pictures. It really is. That's why they're down here. I'm sick of cleaning guitars, so make you a room. So I made me a room down here, but we want to downsize. Matter of fact, we even talked about buying a condo or something, where they take care of most everything. And I get my knees done, it'd be a little different too, but it's just too much else to.
Talk about some of the artists that you've met. Obviously, Johnny Cash was a highlight. For your bride, Arlene, Vince Gill was a highlight.
Vince Gill and Tracy Bird. I'll tell you a story on Tracy Bird.
Please.
She said she liked him, but I said, I'll set in line for you, because she sets in line with me. Because once you get established in line, somebody that's sitting there with you will hold your seat, and they'll tell you you're gone because you go to the bathroom, we get a sandwich or something. But anyway, she wanted to meet Tracy Bird because she likes Tracy Bird. So I said, well, honey, I'll set in line for you. Then when he gets there, you take the guitar and go up and get it autographed for me. So she says, all right. So it was her turn. So she got up and went up there. And he says, who painted this? He said, my husband. I said, where is he? And she said, well, he's way over there. And so we hollered, let the bill. I waved my hand. Now I'm got 500 people in front of me. He said, well, I'm not going any further until I meet Mr. Bill. So I walked through and come up there, and he says, I want my picture taken with you. So we get side by side, and he got the guitar in front, and he got his arm up my shoulder, I got my arm on his shoulder. We get the picture, and Tootie didn't get no hug. She didn't get the picture. So he was going to be at another someplace in Nashville. So I said, we'll make a special trip. So we went down, a fast trip down, but he was going to be at, and we had tickets to go to this thing. And she got 3 or 4 hugs in that day. She went down and got her hugs, you know. So.
You've gotten a few hugs in time with some
Oh,
of the
yeah,
stars,
nice.
and some of the stars' girlfriends or wives too.
Yeah. In fact, Martina's here. It smells really good and hugs good. Yeah. Terry Claire.
She's a particular favorite?
Martinez is, because I think she's for real. Some of them I just, you know, but Martinez is.
Who are some of the stars that you were surprised how humble and regular folks they are? Were there some that you were kind of surprised that you found out they were like that, kind of down to earth?
Yeah, Marty Stewart was good, and I always thought that he was a little heavy on himself or something, but he was super good. He signed 3 of them for him. You know? They're different ones. Jim Ed Brown was good, and I thought he was maybe stuck on, but he was. In fact, he come up one to eat dinner with, and he bought our lunch in this big restaurant, and he was super nice. But
what about some of the ones you were surprised that they didn't quite live up to your expectations?
I don't have it now, but Rodney Crowell, that burned up in the fire, and I didn't care because after we seen him, we were standing in the hallway. I got Bill Monroe signed on a banjo, and we was talking to him, and some people stood in front, and Rodney Crowell was just standing with his foot against the wall, just standing there by himself. This man and woman walked over and said, my wife would like to have her picture taken with you. We said, well, then tell her to get her ASS up here. I ain't got all day. Very, very rude. In fact, I wanted to go over and give him a little education, but he said, no. So they went over and got his picture taken, and he just turned right away from them and just stood there. That's Johnny Cash's son-in-law.
So just a real disappointment.
Yeah, I mean, there was nobody bothering him. You know, if you're busy, they got a hump, but he just was standing all by himself, and I thought he didn't have to do that myself. But,
well, certainly.
Yeah.
The process you started to talk about when we were speaking before, and it came up, the process of these guitars that folks can see behind you here. Tell us about that process. It has to be painstaking, because you had mentioned with your art instructor before, Gene, you said his artwork looks like a photograph. These look like photographs.
Well, you'd have to see them to understand them. These look pretty good, but they're just, he's 100% portrait artist. In fact, I think he's probably the best portrait artist I've ever seen in my life. And he's a very humble man, too.
Well, apparently you learned that from him, too.
Well,
because these are extraordinary.
No, but I know enough about art to know if it's good or bad. I've learned that. You know, I've had some stuff done that I thought was pretty good until, you know, I done it again and done it right. It's hard to understand. Now, scenery, you know, that doesn't really make any difference. You got 2 more leaves on a tree or something like this, but as long as it's in perspective and the lighting and stuff. But a portrait is, there's stuff you have to do to give it that round texture, you know, to make it look like a face, and that's the difference. That's where you come in with hues and value. Your face is one hue, that's color. But now the hue comes in, or that the shadows here on the side, and that makes values is what makes it. Hue is the color, and value is like underneath your nose, it's darker. It's the same color, but darker. Underneath your eyes, you know, the sides here, whatever it is, that's the same color, but it's either low key or higher key, and that's how that makes a face. And in order to get that rounded look, you have to have, I've got pictures where I said, well, you got this white spot here. I got Willie Nelson, and he got blue in his hair. But this blue is shining off of some lights in the ceiling on their TVs. But people with dark, Spanish people, different places, like has dark hair, black hair. If you see them sitting in a crowd, there'll be a blue tint coming off of black hair. And all them colors, you know, if you don't do that, then it don't look like that picture. But in order to get that rounded look, you have to make sure that them highlights, and you pick up that highlight, just like a highlight in an eyeball. If you don't have that there, that don't have that glassy look, like Martinez. So the pale blue in the middle, if you don't have that there, that's not, it gives it that roundness look of the eyeball. They're just, I don't know, just a lot of things that's altogether different than scenery or...
Yeah, as you're describing the hue and the value, I'm looking at Martina and I'm looking at Barbara Mandrell's behind you, and seeing that in there, in the contour look that you're talking about.
Yep. You see this? See how this is darker down here? Because that's a shade from her nose. And her eyes is sunk back in deeper than my average, and so you have a darker there, and that's a darker value. So that's how you, it's the same hue, it's just a different value. Yep.
Now, you talked about, I had asked you before, why not on a canvas? And you said, well, it's kind of obvious. They're country stars. It's about guitars and instruments.
Yeah.
What about the process of actually painting, or how do you do the process of, take us through the steps of actually doing a portrait on a guitar?
Well, my instructor can just sit here and do your picture. But on a portrait, if there's a lot of stuff in it, I can't do that. I sand off the guitar to get a little bit of the shellac and varnish off of it. In other words, nothing will stick to it. Then I spray it with a workable fixative. Then I put some acrylics on it, like her. I put this background color in it a little bit. Then I got a board screen that's 12 by 12, and every half an inch there's a string, this way and this way. I got a 5 by 7 picture. I take this string, put over this 5 by 7 picture. Now they're only half-inch squares. Now I want to times mine and do it bigger, so I times mine by 4. So I come up with 2-inch squares. So I take a fine pencil and make like a checkerboard.
Like a grid.
The grid. I put this down there, and then I balance this off on that guitar to where it's going to fit in. Then I start at the top, and whatever's in this half-inch square, I put in this 2-inch square. Basically, you know, so you can get, and then once I get all right, then you come back and fill it in. But that's the only way I can do. And if a picture's got a whole lot of stuff in it, I have to do the same thing. Well, I've seen professional artists do that too. But
I was going to say, where did you come up with that grid and string system?
Gene
Taught you.
Yeah. Like, well, the one with the Christ knocking on the door,
yes. I
had to do that with that because there's so much picture stuff there to get it in perspective and get it in that size. But I always time, on most of my guitars, I can times it by 4, so I come up with a half an inch to 2 inches.
See, we're back to that left brain.
Yep.
And you like math.
Yep.
So it's the creative and the logic.
And if they have a hat on, like Terry, then you make sure you get this up to the top so that hat, you know, is going to flow out. That down, the time you get down to here, down to the wide shoulders, and so that's how you just balance that off on that put that string up there, and balance it, and then you put that string board over that 5 by 7. This is your reference part over here. Then whatever's in, you take the top row, or wherever you want to, and then when you get done, then you just take that off of there, and then you take the picture and leave just take a little picture there, and fill it in.
When you're doing it by the grid system, are you seeing just that grid as you're painting it?
Yep. You try to block.
So you kind of lose the whole thing,
Yep.
and you're doing that little piece at a
Then
time.
when you get done with that square, you kind of look at it, and then you go to the next one. It looks kind of bad at first, looks like a bad drawing at first, but then pretty soon you pick it all up and bring it back together.
And it starts to take shape.
You've got everything. See, this is why I do them in pencil.
That's what I was going to ask next.
Now, I already have got established where my lights and darks, my hues and values are going to be. So you don't want to darken that down. So then you can just take off and paint in. Then once I do it in acrylics, then you know the same colors with the oils that are going on that.
So it starts at pencil.
Yeah.
And then acrylic.
And then oils.
And then oil.
Yeah. And that's where I learned to do. Gene told me one time, he said, well, if you've got a lot of time, you could do 8 or 10 guitars. You get them all blocked in. You could do 8 or 10 guitars in half the time, because while you're waiting for this one to dry a little bit so it don't pick up something, it don't ruin your then you can work on this one. Then then you can work on this one. So you've always got something to work on. And when you've got the colors out, maybe it's a facial color, then you can do a lot of the facial and save them colors, because oil paints get pretty expensive and you lose a lot of them, but you wipe a lot of it off too. But
were you able to have a few going in different stages?
oh yeah, at one time I had 10 of them going at one time. And everybody said, "Man, you done 10 guitars," but once I start painting, and Gene don't care at that time, I could paint till 3 o'clock in the morning.
I was going to ask you, did you kind of lose time?
Yeah.
You just get absorbed?
Once you get involved, there's nothing else bothering you. You know, you forget about, you got to do this, you got to do this. It's really, really relaxing. When you're done, you're tired, but when you're done, you just, I don't know.
Is there a sense of satisfaction at
if it comes out right.
Creative?
Yeah. And I do everything. Gene does that. Sorry, and acrylics instead of the brushing.
Wipes really? Just lick the brush on your tongue?
Yeah, you eat acrylics. No, you take your finger if you want to dot it and bring it up. Like acrylics dries fast. Okay. So you don't have much time. And so if I wanted to dry brush and bring something up, like this and smooth around a little bit.
So there's a little bit of you in all of these.
Yeah, there is. There really is. Not in oils, but yeah, in acrylics, yeah. And he does. That's where I got it from him, yeah.
What about the time factor? I mean, as I'm looking at all of these here in the room that we're in, is there an approximate time it takes to complete each one?
Some of them are a lot of time. Earl Scrubs here, if I had Tootie here to hand me that, you could see it on TV, but he's holding a banjo, so you got to paint that banjo, and you got strings, and you got all those frets and stuff you got to do, and then his strap that holds the banjo is all these different angles and colors. So some of them are a lot of hours. Some of them are simple. I don't know if I got Brooks and Dunn. They're a piece of cake. Well, there's nothing there. There's really nothing there.
You mean in terms of detail? In
terms of detail and any of that stuff. Now, that girl's hair back there, you're always changing hue and value on that wild hair. But like doing flowing here and her with that stuff on her arms and
sure, the pattern of her shirt.
Yeah, and Brother Bash Osmond, he's got these bib overhauls and the chain. I mean, a lot of them have.
So did I read somewhere it was over 100 hours for some of these?
Well, some of them more than that. Willie Nelson, I don't dare to get up and move either, do I?
No.
No, not so much.
He's got that breastplate on, and I have no idea. Probably all three of them probably close to 250 hours. Oh, you could do them in 100 hours if you didn't. But I'm fussy on detail. I was always going to do, Gene was always going to do a loose style of painting too. Indian paintings. But before we're done, it ain't loose no more.
Well, because I saw some of the Indian paintings upstairs.
Yeah.
They were just as detailed.
Yeah, that's tight. But I want to do them where there's an artist, I don't know if it's Frank McCarthy or not, but can do a painting of an Indian. And up close it looks terrible. But at 10-foot distance, you can even see the pupils and the fingernails and everything. They're really, but you don't have no time in them. But it's just a lot of brush, just simple. Well, not simple, but I don't know. I never know when to quit on a picture. I really don't.
You just keep going to get it.
Till I get tired, I guess. Yeah, I think. Oh boy, some of them the clothes that they're wearing, their face. Sometimes their face isn't that bad. It's like Barbara Mandrell back here.
That's intricate. That dress.
But it's like Brooks and Dunn and them guys. There's nothing there. But Johnny Russell, he's got that beard and he got glasses and then all that stuff all over his coat. That's what takes it. Boxcar Willie, he got all them medals and stuff and bib overhauls with stripes in them. And if it's got a guitar like Boxcar Willie, you got to paint that string on that guitar.
That's very fine detail work.
Yeah, well, once you start with an oil brush, of course it depends on your thinner too. You got to make your thinner just right. To do a straight line and you got to do a line, if you go and you run out of paint, Now you got to come back and start at that point. And when you put that brush back down there, now your brush is loaded back up again to paint with. You're always going to leave a little wider line there. So you have to get a 1 hair brush, but it's a good sized brush, but it drops down to 1 hair.
Wow.
Then you wipe off the material you've got on it to start with. Then fairly soon it'll catch up and you'll have paint to go. So there's lots of tricks to learn on, especially portraits.
And I'm sure you learn those in part by trial and error.
A lot of it is. My horses upstairs, my buddy's horses in Oklahoma, I couldn't do the dust. I had all the horses down good, but I had a little trouble with it because I still wanted to make the back ones a little more detail, and you can't. That's depth. You got to. And I couldn't do it. And he said, well, just think about, go home and think about it, what you could use to do that. And I did. And I went back a week or two later, and I said, can I do pastel? Well, he said, try it. And that's what it was. I've got 4 or 5 pictures I've done in acrylics and then finished off with the dust with the pastel.
You needed a different medium to
Yep.
get the effect.
Yeah, because the water just stayed right there. But pastel, you could blend it right out. You use a stumper and blend it right out. So that works.
Once you started painting country stars on the guitars, you then decided, or what was the process that helped you decide, I want to go see if I can get these signed by the stars? Was that just something that you thought, hey, let's see if we can do this?
Well, that was Tootie's idea.
Tootie comes in again.
Yeah. And some of these stars had these in their museums and pictures. We went to, oh golly, I love the girl. She's the one that sings, Did I Shave My Legs for This? Her name.
Dina Carter.
Dina
We're
Carter.
getting help here.
Yeah, Dina Carter. And I said, well, yeah, we'll go. It was a terrible picture. I said, oh my God. And they had these people, stars, bring these pictures, give people paint them on paper, and they hang them in their show while they're doing the show. And so I told her, she said, well, just take them down and get set up for fanfare, or if we know they're going to be in, like if Reba was here in Grand Rapids at show down there, we go down there, and sometimes you go to Tennessee or Nashville or different states, wherever they're going to be, to get them signed. Mostly Grand Ole Opry, a lot of them.
Roy, where do you get all your guitars? I mean, you need all the canvases. Where do you get them all?
Well, I had a guy in Big Rapids, Quinn's Music Shop, and then most of them, I believe the guy's name was Davy Ray's Music Shop in Everett. And if I think if I bought 24 or 25 at a time, I know Quinn's let me have them for $365 if I'd buy 12 or 25. Everybody said, why don't you paint on a Martin or Gibson? Well, you spend $4,000 or $5,000 on a Martin or Gibson, and I don't think I want to sign the back of it off, sand it off. But when Johnny Cash played his guitar, he says, you done what? I said, I signed the back, sand it right off, that varnish. And he played it. He says, you know what? I was sitting here thinking when you told me that would ruin the sound of the guitar, because that helps for the acoustics in it. And he said, this thing plays beautiful. And I'm sure that's what he said. I think Tootie agreed, but I think pretty sure that's what he said. No, this thing plays like a Martin or a Gibson. And I think I give $365 for it.
Is there anything special about the guitars that you buy?
Nope. I got one guitar. Tootie bought it at a yard sale, and it was from one of our school teachers. I can't tell you what her name was. Reg Hannon, school teacher. $15. She played that in college and school and stuff. And it was wore down pretty good, but the back of it was all right to paint this guitar on. So we takes it to Nashville, and we're on backstage of the Grand Ole Opry, and Vince Gill is signing these guitars. And I said, Vince, I've got a whole bunch of 5x7 pictures. I've got to have you autographed, because they're my waitresses, the bookkeepers at my lumberyard said they love you and they want an autograph. He said, Mr. Bills, every time you see me, throw up 4 or 5 of those pictures and I'll sign them. And he did. He signed, I don't know, 20-some pictures for me, plus the guitar. And he says, you know, Mr. Bills, he says, I should be asking you for your signature. And I don't know if it's stage manager or whatever, but they have a million road managers, and his manager said, well, Vince, buy a guitar from him and you'll have his signature. He said, that's an idea. He said, get me set up for that. Well, then we was back there for 5 or 6 hours, and then we went home, and one day I get a call, and I think it's a telemarketer, and she says, no, Vince Gill, this. I said, oh, yeah. She says, he wants to buy that guitar. She does? I said, yeah. So what do you want for it? And I said, well, for him, because he done me a good deed, I said, I'd take $3,500. Oh, no. She says, I said, I can come down if you want to. No, that'd be an insult.
Oh.
That's not enough money for that. And I said, well, you just send me a check then. Whatever you send me
is
fine. And I'll give 10% to the Lord, and I'll give the other 15 or 20% to some charity. Well, he sent us a check, and it was for, I'm sure it was $19,000.
Oh, my.
And so we said, well, we'll send back $9,500 of it. So we sent back $9,500. And then they sent us a slip bag for use for the tax write-off. And she paid $15 for the guitar.
Not a bad rate of return.
Not a bad return, no. No.
No, but usually you don't sell these.
No, every star so far, I'm sure that they haven't want the guitar. But see, but I ken them because that's their picture. But if I took it out of a magazine, and the magazine had a thing on it, then I couldn't. Like I said, around here I can sell them, and nobody'd ever make the difference. But my attorney figured out a way I can do this. I can sell the guitar for $275, $300, and then have them pay me the rest in cash. Then there's nothing. Cause see, I'm allowed to sell the guitar.
Sure. That's property that you bought.
Yep.
Yeah.
In other words, if they wanted to, they can. And I think the suit is up to $50,000. They can fine you for.
Wow.
Yeah, I can sell it to you, and you can sell it, and they can't do nothing to you. But
isn't that weird?
Yeah, but if it has a copyright, it's a copyright.
And you get them signed, and you don't sell them. So
I've sold a few. I've sold a few, and I've sold I don't know 12 or 15 for charity.
We didn't sell them.
I give it. I give a
for it to be
guitar,
auctioned or
raffled off, and normally so far we've sold most of the tickets, and every guitar I've donated, I've sold a ticket on except one, and my son sold that ticket, but most of them I have sold all the tickets. But it's hard to get people to help you sell these tickets.
Well,
but,
sure.
Yeah. We're going to do, our VFW hall is in real bad shape, and they do so much work for Howard City. They do funeral, everything. You need a wheelchair, a hospital bed, a chair, anything, it's there. I mean, and if you're poor and ain't got the money to go to the hospital, they'll cut you a check for $100 to get you some gasoline, no questions asked. So they do a super, super good job. And so I think I'm gonna do the other John, not the one that's autographed, but the other Johnny Cash. And we done a Garth Brooks in Ionia and got some pretty good money out of it. But a lot of people helped sell it. Then B93 owed me a favor, and they let them bring it up on stage just as years ago in Ionia and showed it. And then they had 10, 15 people in the audience, had different booths selling tickets. And this was for, I think it was for the historical. My sister's involved in it. And they're the ones that where I seen in their store, they had a full-size picture of 2 years of my dad in college, or in school, when they won the state championships. And this is in one of them historical buildings. And so Linda somebody was running it, but I think they done pretty good. I mean, really good, yeah.
How many guitars have you done?
Probably all told, with the ones that burnt and the ones I got now, probably, I'm saying between 165, 185.
And
with the ones I got here now, well, not now, I know what's here, but before when I got rid of some of them, every time I counted them, I got a different figure.
No, you talked about a fire, and that, I mean, how devastating. How devastating.
Yeah,
was that?
because we was going to move in 2 days.
Oh, my.
This guy in town, just a super nice. He does a lot of stuff for people. Just a good-hearted kid. And he says, I'll tell you what, we sold these 3 houses I was telling you about and had to move.
Yes.
So he said, Roy, I won't charge you no rent, but you come and fix it. I'll pay for the materials. And every time you have a minute, fix my house up. And it was really in bad shape. So we put it was a Swiss Charlotte. We put a whole new glass front on it that was on acrylic. Done all the ceilings, the walls, and I was working on the upstairs. So we had a cottage out to the lake, so we went out to the cottage and stayed. And because it was going to be dusty, I was going to be doing the ceilings with this 1x6 seater. And while we was there, my bulldog sitting there, he wanted to go with us. And so I said, yeah, come on. And I'm glad it took him, because 3 hours later, the place was all up. It was burnt right to the ground. In other words, so we lost, I'm sure it was close to 50 guitars and close to, 75, 80 original paintings. In fact, all my religious pictures, and I had a lot of Western stuff, and different pictures that we had that burned up in the fire. So I only had 3 of the religious pictures left. It was with somebody else, That's why I don't keep all that stuff here now.
Yeah, I was going to say, now you learned some lessons from that one.
Yeah.
So do you for the most part, you keep them here, the guitars? Or they're in a few different places?
Different places, yeah. I got some different places, and I don't have much room left anymore anyway. The pictures on the walls, but the ones in that one bedroom, they're prints that we do for a little girl's got cancer, and then we try to sell them for $35. And the people got insurance, but not a lot, but they have to hire somebody to take her chemo and radiation and babysit them, because they're both working, and neither one of them make very good money. So we try to, if you ain't got no money, if you give somebody a couple $100, that's quite a lot of money. Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yep. So that's what we do.
You do a lot of good work with your painting, don't you? You're able to.
Yeah, I really try to, yeah. Well, the good Lord gave me the talent, so you give back something,
You got to use it.
Yeah.
You got to use it. Some of the stories about the people that you met, we took a break a few minutes ago, and you were telling some great stories. What are some of your favorite stories about some of the stars that you've met over the years?
Well, Johnny Cash was one, and Crook and Chase was one.
Tell me about Crook and Chase.
And then the guitar, George Strait, too. Well, Crook and Chase, I didn't get this set up. My wife double-crossed me and got this set up. She said we was going to Crook and Chase show and see if we could get my guitar signed. So when we got there, they took the guitar. They was in dressing room, makeup room. They took the security guard or the manager, somebody, took my guitars. And I said, no, don't forget to come back with them. He said, yeah. And, of course, I didn't know this, but he had already had it set up with them that we'd be on TV. And I wasn't even going to go. I was just going to have her get the guitar signed, and I was going to go downtown. So anyway, we sat in the second row, right center stage, and they come out and said, well, we're coming downstairs, we seen these guitars, and there's a guy in our audience here named Roy Bills, he's made these guitars. And then they went and got the guitars, and then they said, come on up here. But now before they start this show, they'll tell you, if you're with somebody you ain't supposed to be with, get rid of them. Or if you got to shuffle something around or pick your nose, have that all done, because they're going to have 38 million people watching this show. Now, I got my old grubbies on and said, Mr. Bills, come on down here. I finally went down there, but it was a little scary. But you talk about bright lights. When you turn around back, look, you wonder how them people ain't blind in 2 years.
It's like a weekend in Miami, isn't it?
But she smells good and hugs good, too. So, but they were just as nice off camera as they was on camera. So I come home and painted their picture, and then the next time we took it out. But the first time we went, there was a man and woman standing in front of us in line. Now, there's 500 people in this line, and we're right next to these people. And I said, honey, I'd introduce you to these people, but I don't remember their name. I don't even remember where I met them, but I know these people. I'd introduce you to these people, but I don't remember their name. I don't even remember where I met them, but I know these people. My granddaughter, every time I go down, she says, Grandpa, do you know everybody in the world? I said, I think so. But anyway, the security guard come out and he said, Mr. Bills and your wife, you can come in and sit in the air-conditioned office until the show starts. I said, no. If the rest of the people can't do that either, I said, I don't want, I'd rather stay right here. Otherwise, these people are going to hate me and smash these guitars for me. I said, okay, but if you want to come in. So he left and just started turning around. He said, your name's Roy Bills, ain't it? I said, yeah. I said, where do I know you from? He said, well, 3 years ago, you was building a house in Stanwood, for a log house for my sister. And he says, I talked to you for about 3 minutes, and we talked to you as we was leaving the yard for about 3 minutes. But they lived in Tennessee, but they was up there to see your sister, and that's where we met them.
And what are the chances you being lined in front?
Yeah, in front of 500 or 600 people right next to us. I've got a picture up on the shelf up there where we had some guitars set out alongside the car, and they were in it, and they took the picture and sent it to us. Yeah, but you had to be right next to them people. We was up at the Loop getting his guitar signed, and I heard this guy laugh, and I said, that's got to be Donnie Zink. I went over there, and it's Donnie Zink. What are you doing here? He said, what are you doing here? Yeah, you just, every place I go, it seems like I run the same with the fanfare. Was with Garth Brooks' booth, and here come Terry and Sherry Granis from Howard City.
Just happened to be, and the chances again, and all those thousands of people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How do you get backstage? I mean, because that takes some maneuvering. I mean, you talked earlier about all the credentials around your neck, and everybody's trying to stop you and keep you away. How have you managed to make these connections?
We wanted to go to Willie Nelson's show in Mount Pleasant, and it was all sold out. So my wife had our daughter-in-law get on the computer and internet, and she faxed them a picture of the guitar. So they said, hey, Willie's going to want to see that, but there's no tickets, but that's all right. We're going to give you and your wife a backstage pass. Matter of fact, we're going to give you the full shot, the full pass. So when we get there, I just sat out in the hall, and this woman come along after the show started, because it's too loud in there for me. So, how come you ain't backstage? I said, well, I get to go backstage when the show's over with. And Willie's going to say, no. When time you got here, you could have went on his bus and spent 3 hours with him on his bus and go on the backstage right here, right now.
Oh, my gosh.
She said, that's what that special thing is there for. Because you didn't have no seat. But I took my stepson, or Arlene would anyway, because she didn't want to go. But, yeah, I could have spent the whole time. But most of them, if I send them a picture of the guitar, the fan or the person or their fan club, they'll get me a seat or something. Or else if we're in Nashville, I just take them backstage or go in the show, and then they'll say, hey, we can get you backstage.
And you take the guitar with you that corresponds with whatever artist is there.
Yep.
And you don't really have trouble getting to meet
Well,
people.
after the 9/11 bombing, it was a little trouble, and they said, boy, Mr. Bills, I don't think we can get you backstage no more. And then they have a girl that does imitations of Minnie Pearl, and she got me back there a lot of time. She said, boy, I don't know, I might get shot for doing this. I said, well, just take this picture. I had a 5/7. Take this picture and show it to Randy. And if he don't want to sign it, that's fine. If he does, see if I can get back. She said, oh, yeah. I said, no. He told the heads again. Her president of her fan club, Max McMullen, he was the president, and she wanted a picture of that same guitar and Conway Twitty, and I had Conway Twitty done. But she had Max McMullen pay me, and then he paid Loretta. But we was going to get one signed one day, what was a picture upstairs. And we seen her out in the garden, and so we went up there, and Sissy said, oh, no, you ain't going to get to talk to Mom until she combs her hair, puts her makeup on. There's no way she's going to come out of there. So she took it down and had it signed. But that one was signed, was in the morning, I don't know, 10, 11 o'clock, and Mooney, that's her husband, riding around on a golf cart with a 30-pack of beer. And then that afternoon he died, and then Loretta told us that she's pretty sure that was his last signature they signed. And he used to sign a lot of signatures, but that was his
Wow.
probably his last signature.
Wow.
But a bad diabetic. Yeah. But they're in her brand new museum, both of them's in her, right out in the point of her brand new museum. It says as a gift, but she paid me some pretty good money. Yeah. But she wants, and I probably will sell her Sissy land because Sissy stays that, but like I said, we can't, and the kids don't want half of the stuff. You know, they can only got room for,
Your kids?
yeah, a couple guitars or something. They don't have room to put all this stuff, so.
I'm available for adoption.
Okay, all right. Yeah. And that's, so I've had them write their name on a certain one that
Okay.
they want, and you know they're not so. And if I can get a couple dollars out of them, I'll do that. And
I was just going to say, I'm just thinking as we were talking about this, how do you even begin to, it's like picking a child, you know, of like favorites.
well, I had the
and
kids
so
come
forth?
in. I had the
Okay.
kids come in, and they pick out, 5 or 6, whatever it is, and same with the pictures on the walls, and it's so much, because they only got so much room too. And then if I died first, then whatever was left into it could sell, or maybe sell, or not, then donate to charity or something.
I'm guessing there a lot of the stars have left messages with you that say, if you ever decide to sell, or various
Yeah.
fans have said, if you ever decide to sell, here's my number.
I had a book someplace that had everybody's name on it, wanted to buy like Johnny Cash, and you put them down and say, I'm first to get and buy Johnny Cash, or I'm first to get the Ritalin, or I'm fourth, or something like that. I had a list of that Reba up there in the negligee.
Yeah, we should talk about that one.
Yeah. A man and woman paid me some pretty good money to do this picture. She wanted one of the famous red dress Reba wore at that award show.
Sure.
Remember, her mom told her to go home, put some clothes on? Mm-hmm. But I couldn't find on the work from, so I done something myself. I had a woman get some pictures of, and so I put it together and put her negligee on her. And I got a guy right now who'll give pretty good money, but I have to sign it. But he's going to get big pictures done on canvas and sell them. And his wife.
From yours?
Yeah, from this picture if I sell it to him, but I wouldn't autograph it because then they would sue me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that's, I know that's not her picture, but that's her head. That's the same head that's on that guitar over there. But no, I wouldn't sign it because they could. But she said he's already got 300 of them sold at $150, $200 a piece.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so I said no, I wouldn't sign it.
You have to be as bright as you are to get a hold of attorneys to know what you can and can't do.
Ed Kehoe, he's still going, but he don't do big stuff. No, he does. My attorney all my life, but he said that his daughter does. That's what she is.
Some of this copyright work?
Yeah, copyright work. She's in California, and so we paid her a few bucks, and she gave us all the information. And now they have a limit on it. It's $50,000. And even if the Star don't have it, if a magazine. But he said, no, Roy, around Howard City, you could sell a guitar, nobody would ever know it. But you go on TV and it says, hey, Mr. Bill sold this, and somebody's seen this, they could come after you and sue you. It takes a while, but he said, if you don't have no money, they can't get no money anyway. And I said, well, that's what I'd tell them then. He said, yeah. But you really do have to be careful.
You have to be very careful.
Even sometimes selling to the Star, now like Johnny Cash, when I told him that I was sorry it was done in black, it wasn't done in black, he said, no, this is my favorite picture. Told us the date and everything was done. And he said, but I couldn't use it because I belonged to a different record label at that time. So but he said, now, if I would have paid them $2 million, I could have used that picture. But he says, you know me in Nashville. Because he didn't get along with him either. Yeah. But they said, nope, that's not my picture. So, yeah.
What about, you just talked about I could go on TV and so, you've made some television appearances for sure.
Oh yeah, quite a few, really, yeah.
Tell me about some of the memorable TV appearances.
Well, the one I was going on with Tanya Tucker, and then she was swearing too bad, so the TV cameras left. They really did. So we'll wait till you get better off. Yeah.
Where were you when this happened?
at Fanfare.
And so you went on with your guitar. It was
Yeah.
your picture of Tanya
Yeah.
Tucker,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
she
but
she
she,
couldn't clean it up.
She says, I just do it, Mr. Bills, I just do it. And she said, watch for them damn cameras. The TV cameras are on here all the time. And they were. Every time I took a guitar down the Midway at Fanfare, I have no idea how many channels or even radio channels that would come and say, hey. And if you did, they didn't. It wasn't the same story that you give them. But except that little old guy I was telling you about, they done him up good. But
Well, tell us that story. That was a great story we had while we were having a cup of coffee and some great pie, by the way, Arlene. At a break, you have a sense of humor when it comes to some of this that goes on.
yeah, well, I think we was just leaving Garth Brooks' thing and going down the Midway, and I seen the TV cameras come. You can tell them they try to catch up and get through the crowd and catch up with you. And I had this little old guy talking. He was from British Columbia. And he's talking to me, telling me about the airplane ride and country music and everything. And so I finally, I handed the guitar to him. And the mayor come up and he says, we're from something, something. And I want to talk to you about this guitar. But by this time, I'd handed it to this little man. And
Who you hadn't met before. Just
no,
there on
never
the
in my
Midway.
life. But we talked to him about 10, 15 minutes coming down through there. And so I said, I handed him this guitar, and my granddaughter was with us, and this guy come up and says, I was talking to him, he said, puts his hand, says, come on, smiled a little bit. So I turned around, squeezed him, I said, oh, smile a little bit, because I just let a B-52 bomber out and back here in the parking lot. He said, no, I'm serious, I am the mayor. And another guy said, well, he really is the mayor. I said, I don't care. So he says, no, I'm not giving you a story. So they shut the TV until you put in here the truth, and I'll tell you a story, but first I want you to do this little boy in the United States country music and one in Canada. So he said, yeah, we would. So the following year, we goes down there. Now there's 35,000, 40,000 people in this line outside these gates, and when they open them, you just fly through the gates and go to your booth wherever you want to go. And here comes, I used to know his name, but I can't remember his name. He's looking us all over, and he finally seen me. And he come flying down there, and he says, he didn't call me, he said, hey, mister. He said, they done what they said they was going to do. I'm in the country music in the United States, and I'm in the one in Canada. And he said, here, I'm going to give you one of the magazines. And I said, no, that'd be all right. No, he said, I bought 500 of them, so I've got magazines.
It was his 15 minutes.
Yeah. He was super nice guy, but him and the mayor, I guess, had quite a talk. But after we got done, yeah.
That you orchestrated.
Yeah, there would be people in the line. You got 1,500, 1,800 people in line. Now, there would be people in line that would use any excuse they could to get ahead in line. And so they'd come up to me and stand there talking about the guitar. But
Knowing that you were going to get attention for it.
Yeah, and I was there's going to be right. But see, they already cut ahead of 500 people. So anyway, I let them stand there and talk. And I said, now you better get back in your own line because you can't stay here. Oh, and the people behind me says, yeah, lady. But a lot of them would try that. They'd just stay right there with you until you got up there.
And hoping they could just slide in.
And they just hoping they could slide in. But once you was established in line, they'd say, Mr. Bills, go ahead and go look at the other stuff and have a sandwich or something, or you do the same thing for other people, take turn to hold of the seat, the chair for them. Most people, I didn't, you sit on the floor or stand, but I had a chair that I took with me. But a lot of people really tried to cut in.
How did you pick out the stars? We know that Roy Acuff, was the first one you started with. How did you pick stars after that to go? Would you hear a song and then take off
and then
from there?
sometimes I'd be going through the papers, the country weekly paper, and if it had some kind of decent picture, then I bought some Grand Ole Opry books. Of course, you were going to get the old ones in. But then once we started going to Fanfare, there's people there will either sell 5x7s or 4x6s or trade with you. So I done a lot of trading with different pictures. But Quinn's Music Shop, where I bought a lot of the pictures from, he had books up there too that had pictures of some of the music stars, like Flat and Scrubs. He had them. And so I bought the guitars from him and borrowed his pictures and then took them pictures back. But or Tootie would see somebody somewhere or something, and I'd do it, you know. I didn't set out for any certain one. And then Brother Bashful Osmond, I found this, but he played the dobro, but he got a big banjo here. And I seen the banjo was huge. It's probably this big around with a real short neck, but it's a name for it, but it is a banjo. But he usually played the dobro, yeah. But it was an easy picture to work from. But Johnny Cash, I looked for years to find a picture, but none was any good, either too dark, shadow, or on stage. Somebody will send you some pictures, and they're in 4 rows back at the Grand Ole Opry, taking up somebody on stage. You know, there's nothing there to work from. But this guy was closing shop on Music Row. A lot of stores was closing. And so I said, if you wouldn't have any pictures of Johnny Cash, would you? He says, I do, and maybe I don't. But he said, you go through all these boxes here, and if you see a picture of Johnny Cash, you can have it. So I said, the girls all went shopping. I stayed there, and I went through every magazine. And finally I come across this magazine that had a little 2x2 picture. But now, I said, can I take this across the street? Because the guy over there had a magnifying glass thing, like. Mm-hmm. So I took it over and I looked at it. I said, because I wanted to blow it up to at least a 5x7. And it was a little porous, but then I went back and I said, well, yeah, you know, take the whole picture. You can have the whole book if you want. It do me no good. So, but it was only about a 2x2 picture. But like you said, but when you blow them up, but I had to have at least a 5x7, and it worked. I had to fill it in a little bit, make up a little bit of stuff, but I've been a long time finding a picture of Johnny Cash. But he said, no, that's my favorite picture.
It's interesting that that's the picture you would find. I mean, that's the picture you would work from that was his favorite.
Well, he told, and I think Trudy heard it too. They said, oh, it was taken 1976, the date, the year, I mean, everything. And he said, this is my favorite picture. And I said, well, you're just being kind. He said, no, I'm not. That was. But he said, I couldn't use it because I belonged to a different record label then than I do now. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What about upstairs? I saw a really beautiful picture you did of Dolly Parton. Tell me about the picture on the easel there.
We got that at her park.
Dollywood.
Dollywood.
Okay.
We got that, and I went there to get 3 guitars signed, and but there's a story on there. I got to tell you.
There always is.
Huh?
There always is a story with you.
There's people said they could get me in to get Dolly signed. They told Arlene, said, no, don't worry about it. We're head security guard, and we'll get her signed. So we went in, and I had to put the guitars off the side with your cameras and everything. And pretty soon I seen this woman going down the aisle woman going down the aisle with them 3 guitars.
With your guitar?
My guitar. So I hurried up and got down there, and I told the security guard, I said, hey, stop that. So they stopped them, and they grabbed the guitar, and then people kept right on going. They said, what's the problem here? I said, well, their head security guard, and they were going to take them and get Dolly Parton to sign them. No, they ain't. They don't even work here. Well, she said they're cleaners, they're janitors, but she said they have no right being in here, even in this show. Well, this is going on. They're not security guards, so they were going to steal 3 of my guitars.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, at least that's what we figured.
Well, sure.
Yeah. So
you took the 3.
Yeah, and then but I took. We couldn't. She wasn't signing nothing, so we sat outside. And this young kid come up and said, what are you going to do with them guitars? I said, I'm going to take them home, scrape them off, and put somebody else on them. He said, oh, no. He says, I think I can help you get them signed. I said, you can? He said, yeah. He says, I was her bodyguard for 5 years. And I said, really? He says, yeah. So let me go up and check for you. You wait right here. So pretty soon he come back down. He says, yeah, Dolly's going to take a nap. But she was in her bus. she's in her bus up. She wants to take just a little break, and then I can get these signed for you. He said, you meet me at the candles, a candle thing. They sell millions of candles. So I said, we'll be there. So pretty soon he come down and took us up, and she was on the bus, so we got to the door. But before they handed her these guitars, they put a magnifying glass, a mirror inside of them, and checked them right out before they handed them to her.
Make sure they were safe.
Yeah, make sure they're safe. Then she said, here, just a minute, I want to commission you. She said, would you do a picture for me? And I said, yeah, if I can. And she handed me this music sheet book, and she opened it, and it was maybe a 4-inch picture of Dolly. She says, I'd like to have this done in a big picture. And she said, this is my favorite picture. You want to know why? And I said, yeah. She said, well, it really shows off my wigs. Then she winked at me. But her husband, he's standing behind her, but now he looks like he's 80, 85 years old. And I guess he is a lot older than she is, but he didn't say nothing. But we was the only ones that got an autograph all day.
Wow.
Yeah. But
so that picture that I saw upstairs,
yeah.
the large portrait,
yeah.
is the one that she commissioned.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. That's been, I'd have to ask Tootie, but all of 8 or 9 years ago, I think. Wasn't it, Tootie?
8 or 9 years ago?
It's been about
7 years ago?
Yeah.
Is she, do you think it'll get to her?
Probably not.
Really?
No. I kind of like it. Well, I got a brother-in-law that wants to buy it anyway.
It's spectacular.
Yeah.
Her wigs look really good in it.
Yeah, they do. They do. And I'm a wig man myself. But there's a lot of work in it. I mean, but I've just spent this much time on it. You really hate to, even though you're going to get some money, because, you know, like the day I die, I wouldn't care if they give them all to charity, but after you spend this much time.
There's an emotional attachment.
But if she come along, and if I could see her, but she lives in California. Mm-hmm. So she's doing in Pigeon Forge 4 or 5 times a year.
Okay.
And we was going to go out there when she opens Dollywood, but says, forget it. There's 60,000 people here, and she got so much stuff to do that you'd never get the chance to talk to her. So, and like I said, I don't care if it does or not anyway. You know?
Yeah, it's spectacular.
Yeah, well, everybody so far. I had a list, 4 guys, but one was a woman. Now, one was a woman who wanted to buy it for her husband's office in someplace in Texas now, what it was. And I've got a card somewhere here that different stars, number 1 buyer, number 2 person wants to buy it. Bill Smith on 2 pictures, I think he is, that I know that, and then there's certain pictures. So I'd have to go, but my brother-in-law said, no, forget them. He said, when you decide to sell it. I think he's bought 5 guitars, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. But I think he done it because he had to spend some of his money. He really did.
He had to get some. He had to get rid of some.
They sold 50,000 acres in Florida, and plus 4 pickle factories, and there was 7 kids, and he got shared 7 ways or 10 ways, something like that. So he got a couple dollars.
Yeah, we're not going to worry about him.
No.
What, you said that Dolly had commissioned that for you. Have you done other commission work over the years?
Johnny Cash.
That, of course, yeah.
Johnny Cash, but we was going to take. I finally got a hold of his sister, and I called her when I got it done, but I couldn't get a hold of her. I called for a month, and finally she called me. She said, "Well, I've been overseas, and so I don't use this phone." And I said, "Well, I've got this guitar done, but I got one done for him and one for her." And she says, "Okay, I'll get it set up." Well, she finally called us. And we had the guitar all packed and ready to go. Was going to go Sunday afternoon, right after dinner, and watch TV. And on TV it said June Carter Cash dies on Mother's Day. So I got a hold. I said, no, it wouldn't be a good time to go down. I said, no. So we set up another date. Oh, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 months later or something like that. And got ready to go down again, not that day or 2, but within a week or so, and he died, so
wow.
He never got his guitar, and I never got my money from me. No.
And you still have the guitar?
Yep. Upstairs. That's the one upstairs.
That's the
this
one
is the one he
upstairs.
autographed, and the one upstairs was for him.
That's happened to you a couple of times, hasn't it? You
Yeah.
talked about with Loretta Lynn's husband and
Yeah.
so forth, that you've been there and gotten a signature, met some folks, and
Yeah. 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 In Fanfare, we met a lot of nice people, a super lot of nice people. Some of them wanted to buy the guitars right at Grand Ole Opry, but I said, I don't think you can do that because they're going to take, well, Dolly Parton and all of them said 50% of any capital gain. So all you can take off is the price you paid for the paints and the guitar.
so as long as it's on that property, that would be how it would be handled.
Yeah, just like Elvis Enterprises, when we done that one down there, you'd had to pay them. Well, Dolly even told us, their guys even told me, he said, no, you pay 50% of any capital gain if you sell that right here. I really said, yeah, we don't care where you sell it, but if you sell it here, you will pay your 55% of any capital gain. Yeah.
I saw some family portraits that you did upstairs as well. I guess I'm wondering, of friends and family around town, have they asked for you to do portraits over the years?
Yeah, but I don't paint for people. I just do it for my own amusement, and I pick whatever I choose to pick, whatever I want to do. But, and you'd hate to paint something, spend that kind of time on it, and they'd say, hey, I really don't care for it, don't like it, so what would I do with, somebody's picture? So, and I always had enough stuff to paint on my own not to do it. I done one for, years ago. I've done one for a lady that was her son, and he first guy got killed 16 years old. But she had two pictures. She had a picture, and then she had another picture of him with his high school sweater on, and she wanted me to take that off and put that on. And I did it. I think I was with Arlene at the time, and I did it. But when I took it down and give it to her, she cried and sobbed. I mean, I couldn't get out of there quick enough, and say, I'll never do this again. Never do this again. Well, plus it's hard to change. You got to have the neck fit, and that sweater just like it just fits somebody. You got to juggle that around, and sometimes it ain't easy. And sometimes the light ain't the same thing, So, but yeah, I said no. She worked at the banks, probably. Her name was Sue in Sand Lake. They had a Sand Lake. Bank had a Sand Lake Bank.
You kind of learned from that you'd rather do it on your own impetus when you're inspired to do something.
Yeah, you really would. Yep.
When did you paint last, or do you paint anymore?
I don't paint. I haven't painted, and Johnny Cash was the last. No,
Really?
I take it back. Merle. Waylon, not Waylon Jennings. Christopherson.
Chris Christopherson.
I've done this picture 3 times. I tried drawing it on, and I shook so bad I eliminated them. Scraped it off. Then I went through a spell that I wasn't shaking much. And then if I have a lot of coffee, I'd shake, or if I got excited, I would shake. So but I know I can't paint it, so I'm going to leave it black. And I kind of like it.
It's fabulous that way.
I put a little blue in the hair to make it look a little bit more like a gray-haired guy or something, But I know I'll never finish it.
When was it that you worked on the Chris Christopherson guitar?
Probably 7 years ago.
Really?
Yeah. Earl Scruggs I got signed last, but I'd had him painted for probably 10 years in Meyer Garden. Yeah, but I'd like to get Chris signed too, but he lives in California.
Sounds like a road trip.
Yeah. And I've seen the traffic going to California, and I ain't going to California. No, that's terrible. Yeah.
Do you miss painting, not painting?
Yeah, I really do. I miss carpenter work too. I really do miss that. But painting was a hobby. But to me, painting was like building houses, especially a log house. You have to learn. There's different things. Everything has pastel has a different thing. Ink has a pencil. Graphite has something different. Acrylics is a little different. And so every time you paint something, it's like building a house. You learn something, and it's trial and error how you get stuff done. Yeah. But I still wish I could, because I'd like to go up along the East Coast. We was at Pigeon Forge one time up at the Loop, and there was a pull-off spot there where you could have something to eat. And the creek was really wide right there and pretty, real pretty. And there was kids coming down tubing, and there was a guy fly fishing right there. And Arlene was reading the book. Conservation guy stopped by there and said, now, if you guys are eating anything, put it in that barrel, and don't be, if you got bacon, then don't stay here very long. I said, what? Bear can smell bacon 3 miles away. And he said, they'll come up, and right beside you here was a mountain going right up straight. He said, they'll come off that bank, and before you know it. And Tootie says, well, I don't have to worry, and this is the truth. She says, all I got to do is outrun him, and he's got 2 bad legs. So I'm all right.
Don't have to outrun the bear. I just need to outrun Roy.
She just sat there like this. Anyway, this guy out down the creek comes up, and I had a big scratch pad there, but now the scratch, just charcoal them. And I done him while I was sitting there fishing. He was fishing, and I done him. So he come up and said, that's me. Yeah. I said, yeah, that's it. He says, well, I just going to bring it home and put it. I just sold all that stuff. I had to get rid of a bunch of junk. And I said, yeah, I'd sell it. I said, what do you want for it? And I said, you give me. He said, I'll give you $100. So he gave me a $100 bill. I said, okay, that's fine with me. I was only there about an hour.
Yeah, for a sketch you did for enjoyment over lunch.
Yeah.
Before the bear came after you.
He got down to roll away. He come back. He said, I don't even know your name. What's your name? He said, put it on the back of my paper here.
Oh, my gosh.
So, yeah.
You just keep running into things like that, don't you?
Yeah, yeah. He told me what he'd done, too. But some of his relation was a well-known artist, but I can't remember the name of it now. But he told me, no, he says, I can't draw, but he says, I got whoever it was is a well-recognized artist.
So he recognized your artistry in that drawing.
It must be, because, well, I had time enough, an hour, to do more than just, these these beach drawings where you go, it's a technique you learn to do somebody's portrait. It's just like a shadow drawing for $25, and it takes you 5 minutes. It's just a little technique you learn how to do. And a lot of people do this.
Really?
Yeah, I've been in Florida in different places, and you see a lot of these guys doing this stuff and a little portrait, but it's not detailed, but it reflects, it looks like the person you're drawing.
Yeah, you can tell that it's obviously characteristics of.
Yeah.
And that work you wouldn't do anymore either?
But when I do mine, I put a little more to it than them guys do. So mine, like I said, I had an hour, and these guys will do something in 5 minutes or 6 minutes, But I had an hour to sit there, so I'd done a lot more detail and some rocks behind him, and he had a pipe in his mouth and had a fly rod, and so I had a little more. There was nothing to write home about, but I mean, he could tell that was him, So
what's next for Roy?
That was my next question.
What's next for me?
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't.
Whatever tomorrow brings?
Yeah. Go by day by day. I got to go get this knee done sometime in December.
Oh, is that coming up then?
Yep. So then I'll take it from there. And I'm probably going to start working on getting rid of some of this stuff. I got stuff that starts at $1,000, so but everybody I talk to on the internet, I know nothing about a computer. I really don't. If you go pay somebody 45%, and the one woman over by Ambo, she wanted me to give her $1,000 for a website, and then charge me $35 or $35 for 40% of whatever the value of the product that she sold. I said, well, hell, if I'm going to do that, I might as well advertise them in the Grand Rapids Press for half the price.
Or less.
Or less, yeah.
Yeah, you've got grandkids. They can set up a website for you.
Yeah.
That's how easy that is.
Yeah. Well, I had a guy, I don't remember where he was from. He said, when you decide to sell these, I'm going to tell all my brothers and sisters, because we all got money. We all have money. To buy something personal like this and hang on to it until my great-granddaughter like this is going to go to college, sell it, and say, here, now this is some of your, and I'll be able to enjoy the guitar, a picture, as long as I'm alive, and then donate it. But I've lost his talent. But I had a lot of numbers, but a lot of them I just threw away because I knew I wasn't ever going to do it. But some of them I wish they had back. But
well, but I would also imagine that it would be pretty easy to get a hold of, as you would have contact numbers for their publicists and so forth.
yeah,
And most, I would imagine, as you've run across, most of these folks would want their guitars.
yeah. But like I said, I can't even get out of the yard hardly without, because down there you got to do a lot of walking. Everything is walking, yeah, everything. But but I am going to start selling some. My special ones that the kids are going to get, I'm not selling, but I got a lot of other ones, like this one, either one of these, and Barbara Mandrell. And see, Barbara Mandrell ain't in movie or singing anymore. She's in movies. So her sister wanted to buy it, and her sister signed the back of it. But
Do you have any favorites? I mean, you've talked about this row, and Dan is going to be getting pictures and walking with you, I think, to get some video of them. But I mean, maybe it's like choosing a favorite child, but are there particular favorites that you've done that just came out so well? And
yeah, well, and then you like them because who they are. Carl Smith, I liked. Martinez McBride, and I like Terry Clark, and I even like Barb here. Her sister does a show, and they can play. Her sister can play.
they're musicians, yeah.
And I mean, play it good, really good. But she was going to take it and get it signed for me, Louise was. And I said, well, in a couple of days, she said, I'm going to see her. And I said, well, I really appreciate it, but I do it, and I'd like to meet the star, you know. It wouldn't have been the same if she went and got it done for me. She wanted to buy one. In fact, she says, I got my hands on it right now. He says, you wouldn't beat up on a little skinny woman to get my guitar. And she is skinny too. You can give her a hug and feel cold. They're blowing rib in her back. You know.
Are you amazed at kind of the path that your life went down once you started doing this?
Yeah.
I mean, you're in construction. You have a successful construction business. You take an art class kind of on a whim to sharpen your skills.
Yeah.
And then you're backstage on tour buses meeting folks that people will never meet.
Years ago, I would have never thought I'd done any of this other than building. I never really ever thought I'd do anything with my art when I left school. But even after I left, I would do certain things. But I never thought it would ever come to this. But I have Gene Tanner to thank for that. He really is the one that pushed me. He really did. He said, don't you? I said, yeah, Gene, I got thrown out of school for this. Yeah. He said, well, yeah. I said, you should do. And the people I was in class with wish they could have done it. In fact, when I got there, the first 3 days, I didn't even do nothing. I said, I'm going to wait and see what these other people do, because I know they're probably better than I am. And after I'd seen what they'd done, I thought, well, I think I'll paint a picture. Yeah, because both super nice people, really. And the one woman done a bear, and I think it looked more like a coon than a bear. But that was my teacher, flight instructor's wife. Yeah, she come down, and Kurt got out of the car, and this one gets down. She comes running over and gives me a hug, and Kurt said, hey, you been running with my wife? I said, I spent 13 weeks with her. Yeah, and she drew mostly flowers. She'd done things, but everybody had a lot of fun. They just come up there, and then Gene would do, every class out of one class, he would do a portrait, a class demonstration. And then we picked her because she was kind of a pretty girl, dark, not gorgeous, but just a nice, pleasant lady. We picked her, and he done her picture. As far as I know, she still got it. They're just a bunch of men, women, mostly women that just try to get out of the house away from their kids or something like that. Because they was all probably in their 30s and 40s, something like that. Yeah.
And you were in your 30s at the time too.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So Gene saw the natural ability you had and wanted to help you hone that.
I think so. Yeah. He, I told him I only didn't even go through the 8th grade. And I didn't know it, but he was having a house built after I knew him for quite a while. And he says, I know you do some building, but can I show you a blueprint? I'm having trouble with my builders are having trouble with my house. These are union guys too. They're always after the union. So I said, yeah, where are you building it? Because when I knew him, he was on 5 Mile Road out of Stanwood. So I went up there and it was a weird house, it had different, but when I learned carpenter work, I learned the old rafters, the cutting. Now they got trusses, you don't even have to know nothing today to build a home. And I said, what are they having trouble with? I said, fitting these beams, because this is a different degree. I said, yeah, but you just got it done this. You have to reverse, you have to reverse degree. It's not a 10-12, it's a 12-10 on the long side of your square. That's a pitch. And the hip is a lot longer. It's hard to explain, but anyway. He said, well, these guys, he said, I'm paying them big money. And this is a union, he says, and they graduated from college. I said, well, I don't really feel like I should come in, and step. I hate that. He said, no, I'm going to fire him. I said, well, that's a different story. So I finished it. Then I hired a kid out of college, Charlie Fires, nice kid, for carpenter. He didn't know enough. I don't think they teach him any on. He didn't know how to snap a chart. He didn't know how to use a book smart computer. He had these protractors that do everything. And the second day he come to work, he got a motorcycle helmet on with the shield pulled down from him so the sawdust don't get in his eyes. Now it just went up there and sucked in a sweat.
Oh,
I mean, he book smart, but didn't know nothing, really. So he worked for me for, I think, 3 weeks. He says, you know what? This is too hard to work for me. I said, but you went 5 years ago? I don't care. This ain't for me. So I think he went back to college and went in estimating, what they called estimating, figuring prices of jobs and stuff. But he didn't, like I said, he didn't know nothing. No.
And you learned it the hard way. You learned it by doing it and figuring out
yeah,
what works.
And I worked with a good guy that knew what. But Charlie, he had this computer protractor, whatever it is, and tell you the length of a rafter, this or something, but he didn't know how you got it there at that point. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I said, and I told Gene, I said, the more you go to college, the dumber you get. Now this is true too with him. When he was 79 years old, his wife takes off and lives with her first boyfriend she ever had in Lakeview. All their kids would go up, and he said, I got to tell you something. You probably won't understand, but my wife was living with her first boyfriend, and she comes home once in a while. Of course, she says, I support her, gives her the money. And my boyfriend's rich, but he says, I got to give her the money. She gets some of this money, too. And I said, yeah, I told you, the longer you go to college, the dumber you get. And he said, I believe you. Yeah. Yeah. But this guy can paint anything and make it look good. He done a Corvette one time, and he was supposed to give it to me, but he had a chance to sell it. But he worked for General Motors, painting cars or pictures of cars and stuff.
Wow.
But it got too busy. He was never home, so, yeah.
Tell me about the pointer. Your pointer. You've been holding that the whole time we've been talking.
Yeah. One of my little girlfriends got me this. Yeah. She come over and said, Uncle Roy, I want to see your artwork. I'm going to Nashville, and I'm going to take some pictures with me and then that. So I said, okay. And I had a fly swatter, and I'm pointing with this fly swatter to this or this or this. And she sent me this, says, this is for Christmas. Now you can throw your fly swatter away.
I can't imagine why she didn't like the fly swatter.
Well, I took it with me because she was a little afraid of dogs, and Jake was going around her leg. We had a lady here the other day, apparently jumped right out of her clothes.
When she
Jake
met
come
Jake?
up behind her and said, oh my God, I'm scared of dogs. Now they got my dog scared of her.
That would scare me too.
Yeah.
So this hobby took a direction, and it sounds like it sure added an awful lot of fun and adventure to you and Arlene's life together.
We really have. We've met people and done things that I never ever thought in my life that I'd do. I never did. And it's really just fun doing it. It's just a fun hobby. It really is. But we met some super, super nice people. Yeah.
Well, and they say over and over again, and I know you've heard this over the years probably, find your passion, find something you love to do, and find a way to make some money at it. And you did that in construction.
We've made
You
some
did
pretty
that
good
with
money
this.
on it, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then with this as well.
Yeah.
Just out of doing something that you have a passion for.
Yeah.
That's the secret, isn't it?
Yeah. And I'm lucky that she likes to do this and go along and do this, because some people don't, But
Well, she's got Vince Gill now because of
she
this
got Vince Gill and Tracy Bird.
Yeah. So that's working out pretty well for you both.
That's right. Yeah. No, we've had a ball, and we've got places that they said, no, you ain't going there.
That's why I asked you about that earlier. I'm astounded at the folks you've been able to meet and the time you've been able to spend with them.
Yeah, we got to Kitty Wells' theater, and they had a big lunch in there, and I was getting ready to pay for our tickets. She said, no, you're in here free, and I want you to have supper with us. So we had supper with Kitty Wells, and it didn't cost us nothing.
So there is such a thing as a free lunch.
Yeah, there really is. Yeah, yeah. And she was really, she said, I didn't think nobody cared. I said, Kitty, you've been singing for 100 years. She's still going, too. She's still alive.
Wow.
Yeah.
You were telling me upstairs about an artist that just started crying and sobbing when she saw your guitar of her.
Allison, well, 3 or 4 of them did that. But Allison did, literally sobbed. And I thought first I had insulted her or something. And she said, no, I had. How many people was in her line, too? 1,200, 1,500?
Yeah, a couple hundred.
And she was
hundreds.
What did she say to you when
She said, I had no idea anybody cared enough about me to do something like this. Just a lot of them been super nice.
But that has to be so touching to you as well.
Oh, yeah. Pam Tillis was super good. Yeah, she says, you made me look 3 times prettier than I am. I said, really? And she'd been in a bad accident before this, and so she had done 8 or 10, no, this is what she told me, surgeries on her face, nose, and her face. So,
wow.
yeah.
Right. Tell them about Vince Gill's wife, Amy. You met her.
Oh, yeah. We met her at the church in Grand Rapids, and she said, Mr. Bills, you are awesome. You are the greatest thing I've ever seen. I says, am I more awesome than Vince? And she says, yes, you are. And Trudy says, oh, no, you ain't.
Another country heard from.
Says, oh, no, you ain't. It's okay. Yeah. Oh, well.
Sounds like some good times. Is there something that, some other things that I haven't asked you that you wanted to talk about?
We had a good time with Connie Smith. She's a good one. We went to get her signed, and it was at a show, Palace or Capitol tonight in Pigeon Forge. And this lady come down and sat on my lap.
Well.
Give me a hug, kiss, and run her fingers through my hair, and sitting there singing a song to me. And she got up. She said, "You just got kissed by Ava Gardner, Ava Barbara. She used to sing on the Lawrence Welk show."
Oh, for heaven's sake!
Yeah. When I got Johnny Cash's sister talking to her to the country, the gospel music thing that morning, I seen this woman. She come up and she said, "Mr. Bills, that's awesome. That's the best artwork I've ever seen in my life." And I said, "Honey, I was going to introduce you to my wife, but I don't know where I've seen you." She said, "Did you ever watch Hee Haw?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "Remember the girl that had a tooth and had her hair done in rags, and I was at the iron board and my husband was a drunk? That's me." And could she sing gospel? Could she sing? Yep, she's that with me.
Oh,
yep.
my.
So, I knew I'd seen her somewhere. That was her. Yeah. Yeah.
Tell them about Lori Morgan when you took her dad down to her.
Oh, line packed for Lori Morgan. No way, just get in there. I said, well, guy said, well, stand over there. And my sister-in-law, daughter-in-law was with me too, I believe. Just stand over there and sometime hold that up. Maybe she'll see it and stop the line. I said, well, I wouldn't want to be rude. She said, no, I'm telling you. So she just got done with one autograph, and my daughter-in-law hollered. So when she hollered, I held the guitar up like this, and she got a picture of saying, she went, oh my God. So she said, stop the line, and I went up there and got signature. 5-minute time I had my signature.
Whoa.
Then she signed George Jones, or her brother, her dad right beside her, George Morgan. Mm-hmm. He had Candy Kisses.
Yes.
If I sent a note to you. And she signed the back of George's too. So, yep. So, and she got a chicken place, hot chicken place.
Oh, for heaven's sake, a restaurant.
Restaurant. You get mild, medium, or atomic. And my granddaughter, the one that turned her hat, is always with me. So, what are you having, Grandpa? I said, I'm going to have the medium. Oh, was it hot? She sweat running right on, but she ate every piece of it. The next time we went out there, we went to this restaurant, back to this restaurant, and the guy ordered atomic. And I said, boy, I'd be careful, because I didn't even have the hot. He hit, in less than 2 minutes, he was on the floor. That swelled his throat shut, and he couldn't breathe. Good thing there was a doctor and nurse there. It was so hot, it was closing his throat right shut. Yeah, it was hot. But old Holly ate mine, ate hers right along with me.
Yours was only medium, not atomic.
Thank heavens for that.
Yeah, because medium was, it blistered my tongue. Well, it blistered your fingers when you ate it with the...
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
I wonder why anybody even tried to eat something like that.
No.
Similar to torpedo juice.
Yeah, well, Johnny Cash said, I drank even torpedo, and that's what he said.
You've mentioned that name a couple of times, Barbara Ann Brown.
She's the head of all the music in most of the stores, Walmart, Kmart, and all these places. She's the head of making sure that all gets done. And we went to see her. That's when she bought Vince Gill to get his guitar. This is when I seen her kick this guy over the wall and down through there. But anyway, she says, I'll get you backstage of the Grand Ole Opry. She says, I'll have to get somebody that's going to let you come with them. But she says, give me some pictures. And so she called us and she says, yeah, you're going to be guests of Ricky Van Sheldon's. And so when you get there, Ricky will come out and greet you and meet you and come out and greet you. So that's how we got on the show with, putting 6 hours with Ricky Van Sheldon.
Ricky.
Yeah. And he's no taller than Arlene is with his hat on. And I thought he was 6 foot tall.
After that, all they had to do is see the guitars.
So yeah, that's your entry in.
Oh, yeah.
You hold up a guitar, and then folks immediately know who you are.
Yeah.
And then you're ushered back.
I had a woman for Tracy Bird stay out in the parking lot and miss half the show. I said, no, honey, I'm serious. I'm really not going to sell. This is my wife's boyfriend. Oh, she said, I'd kill for that guitar. I said, well, no, it's not for sale. It really isn't for sale. Someplace else they done the same thing. The girl even cried. I said, honey, I'm sorry. We got this started, but this, she said, well, you can paint another one. I said, I know you can, but this is autographed. And I forget who it was, but it was a guy, maybe Blake Shelton or somebody. But I said, no. I said, well, you're going to miss all your show.
Billy Ray Cyrus was quite forward. That might have been the one you're thinking about. Billy Ray when he was at the mall.
Oh.
She was after you.
Yeah.
For Billy Ray?
Yeah. She was ready to kill too, but I won't tell you the story that we really went through on down there.
Oh.
No. We went in to see Billy Ray Cyrus, and this woman standing behind me. Now, she was about my same height and pretty heavy-breasted. And she standing behind me with her hands on my shoulders like this and looking over my shoulder and looking over the shoulder, turning around like this. And Tootie said, well, why don't you let her stand in front of you? I said, well, I want to see too. Besides, I said, I'm getting the thrill of my life. I've got 2 boobs running across the middle of my back. I said, so I've been exercising here for 2 hours. I damn sure ain't going to give this woman my standing spot.
Because you're a wig man.
I'm a wig man. I told my Dr. Presley that he tells everybody that comes in his office. Well, Roy Ann Chase, I went down there. He had a race. He drives a race car, and he had a race car, a Magnet race car. And I said, Lori, if you sign this and put your lipstick on the back of this, I said, I owe my doctor thousands and thousands of dollars, and he said he's going to wipe the slate clean if you put Dr. Presley 2 Davis and put your lipstick on the back. Well, I'll get you right out of that. And she says, well, he's a doctor? I said, yeah, he's not very bright, is he? I said, no, he's dumb in a box of rocks. So I come back. Now, we're on TV. So I come back, but just before we left, some woman come in and wanted to buy Elvis. I sold him an Elvis. He said, well, I know the guy. He says, sometimes I have lunch with you. And then we did a couple times. But he says, they dumb in hell. Dumb in a box of rocks. So this is why I told him. So Press thinks I told this woman on TV. He went down and told Roy Acuff right on TV. Dumb in a box of rocks.
Is he still your doctor?
Yep.
The stories are too good. He can't pass it up.
Yeah. She was, I mean, they were just as nice off, some of them ain't. When they get off TV, you just never know it's the same person, you know, but they were super good, yeah.
Well, I imagine you've learned a lot about kind of country fans can run the gamut as well. So you've probably met some pretty rabid country fans in the process.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. For about 5 years, I sent.
Yeah, one of them named their kid after Laurie or whatever. But most of them super, super nice people. Yeah, really nice, and country people. I had a woman, I give her a 5x7 picture of Marty Stewart. And one day, here this girl comes, clear from, I forget what state, said, oh, I've been trying to find you. She says, everybody told me this here. And I'm trying to think where I met her. She says, remember you give me this picture of Marty Stewart? And she says, my favorite. And she says, and I was at his show, so I got it autographed. My dad had it blown up, and I got it framed in a picture. And she said, my husband goes hunting in North Dakota for pheasants, and she made me a great big pheasant bouquet of spray. It's on top of one of Arlene's dresses.
Oh, of the feathers.
The feathers. Made a beautiful thing out of them feathers. And come clear from wherever she was at to bring it to me.
Wow.
This is what? I was out the lake, so 12 years ago. Yeah. So no, she says, I really appreciated that. Yeah.
So you have some lifelong friendships that have come out of
Really,
this
yeah,
as well.
yeah, a lot of them. Super nice ones, yeah, yeah.
You must just be astounded sometimes when you sit back and think about all of this.
You do, because, you know, there's a lot of bad people in the world, but there's a lot of good people, too. There really is, you know.
We never end up quiet at our house. We've always got something to talk about.
Yeah.
I'm gathering that.
Yeah. I mean, just lots of things we've done that we never would have done, and places we've been, and then every star that I know of that I've got signed has wrote me letters, Crook and Chase, and said that keep all the old guys and sell all the old guys in the group because somebody wants something that nobody else has got, and you've got something that nobody else has got. So, you know.
Boy, that is true.
But you got to find that person now too.
But all it takes is one.
But if you don't advertise them, you know, nobody's gonna get
And
them.
you haven't done that to
No.
date. I mean,
No.
you haven't done that to date.
No. This one guy wanted to buy some. He says, you know, there's people that's got money. Well, Laurie Ann Crook and Charlie Chase said the same. They have to spend it. And they want something that nobody else has got. Everybody's that way. Yeah. But what we leave, maybe the kids will make something out of it too. But I am going to sell some stuff because we got to get out of this big place. So if I build a rancher, you know, her dolls and all these pictures and guitars, you know, I'm just going to set off the side of stuff that Bill Smith wants a couple more. He's bought, I think, close to $40,000 worth.
Make sure we keep his number.
Yeah, but don't tell him, I don't, because he just is a super, super nice guy. But he gives money to anybody that's in need. He knows. I mean, he don't waste his money because he earned it hard. But if he sends a family in need, he really does there to help. Lots of times when I was busy building, had a little money, he'd call me and say, hey, so-and-so is having trouble. Can we do this, this, and this? And we'd split with them. Like one they said, they got the wood, but they don't have no stove, and they don't make no money. So we split and bought them a real nice wood stove and had it put in, a chimney put in, and even bought them 5 cord of wood that when we get started. But
Wow.
I mean, he's just that kind of guy.
Well, so
And he
are
didn't.
you.
He didn't even hardly know the people. Well, they went to their church a couple times, I guess. But if somebody's really in trouble, old Billy's right there. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're there to back them up too.
I do. We do what we can't. We can't do like we used to because we don't work no more. But that's where we work at the VFW Hall. Anybody that needs something done, then we try to, because they do a lot for the community. But they're going belly up. I'm afraid they're going to have to close their doors because no money. And and the membership is good because the new veterans don't even want nothing to do with it. You know, like
Dry VFW.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So yeah, if we serve booze, then you get all kinds. But it causes a lot of trouble too. A
Yeah.
lot of trouble. Somebody, if they just come and have a beer, but they don't, they come in and get pretty rowdy and so. But it's a good organization.
Well, the license is very, very expensive.
I would think.
Whole lights and heat, yeah. Me and my son done all the work there, mowing the lawn, and all the buildings are going down bad. We fixed the roofs, the siding was bad, the windows, the brick. We done it. Really
Right,
got it in
everything.
1 year's time. Got it in pretty tip-top shape because he can't afford to hire none of it done. No,
Wow.
no. The ladies' auxiliary's got a few dollars, but not much. They're the ones that does. Well, the VFW too does the funeral. And a lot of them are old people, and they can't afford to give nothing because they're on Social Security. And now, if the husband dies, then his check ain't there no more. So they're living on $400 or $500 a month. So but they still do it. Yeah. And a lot of times, if somebody come in that they got no money and poor and got to get, they'll give them $100 bill for gas to get to the doctor or to get to a job or something.
So they serve an important role.
Yeah. It don't sound like much, but if you ain't got no money, $100 is a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money. What do you think? Is there some other things we need to go over?